Welcome everybody! It is the first day of the second open of VCT Game Changers APAC. My name is Mika Fabs, and it is good to be back here with Zach, who thankfully isn't too famous for us since she is officially a VCT EMEA talent. Zach, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
I mean,
I kid.
We have the queen of VCT PH herself, Mika Fabs. I bow down to your
I bow down to you as well.
Yes, now that we've both established our bona fides, I think I can safely say that we're both super excited to be here for Open 2 of VCT Game Changers APAC. And we have two extremely, I believe, they're going to be super stacked matches coming up for the day.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like, throughout every single open that we have, actually, there's just so much development and so much action. So it's so exciting to actually be back, fresh from Open 1 to see how our teams are evolving and changing and see some new faces along the way as well. As we take a look back, of course, at our circuit, remember that there are 3 opens and these teams are collecting points as they go along the way, and the top 6 teams at the end of Open 3 are going to qualify for Elite, which Zach is the final step to get onto that international stage. I wonder who it's going to be this year.
I believe that we already have a statement being made. I think it was Inari who said it in an interview. This year it's going to be my first international LAN. It's my debut.
Oh my gosh,
and,
did she?
Yeah, she did. I think she said it in an interview with Valor to Asia, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, she already said it she said it with FSL actually, one of the shorts that they put out. So yeah, she's already very confident about it. This is her year to shine. And looking at the record that SMG and Inari have put up so far over that group stage, it's looking pretty likely.
I know, it's gonna be so exciting, especially we have somebody like Inari, a superstar, of course, in the VCT Game Changer scene, and it's good to have her back. Of course, her being on Team SMG right now, that's making a lot of news. But again, before that, take a look at the roadmap that we have for VCT Game Changers so far. Again, our teams are collecting points. The top 6 teams at the end of Open 3 are going to be qualifying for Elite, which in turn will lead to the international stage later on in the year. We also do have LCQ, which will be the last chance for 2 teams to qualify for Elite. It's going to be really, really exciting. And as we approach mid-year, Zach, it's going to be so intense because, time is running out for these teams.
Yeah, it really is. And I think in particular, it's more of a marathon than like a quick sprint. So it's going to be points that accumulate, right? So if 6 teams are qualifying for Elite, it's going to be the case where teams are going to have to perform consistently well throughout.
Yep, I definitely agree.
I think that in particular, it's gonna be really important that you do have so many teams registering. They do have to be able to make it through every single open and perform consistently to place in that points ladder. But look at all of these beautiful names and logos. I love it, Mika.
I know, I absolutely love it. I have to give a shout out, by the way, to No One Tap's logo. It's just so adorable. Look at that. It kind of looks like Dizzy, but not. So I just have to give a good shout out for that. Doesn't it? Look at it. It looks like Dizzy. But yes,
I love these logos.
Teams are so amazing, and it's so, like I mentioned, Zach, it's so great to be able to go into every open, and all of these teams, all of these wonderful teams all across APAC are really showing their stuff. But we are down to 8, of course, to start us off for Open 2. We have Team SMG, we have Orangutan X, we have the Hero KDA, RRQ Kaguya, Big Scythe, Full Sense Sapphire, Point of Authority Blossom, and Global Esports Phoenix. A lot of big names. Of course, we do have, some names that stand out quite a lot and are looking to be the big, the big monsters here coming into Open 2. But we do have some question marks as well. I wonder what they can offer.
Yeah, I mean, of course, from Open 1, if you were watching, and I'm pretty sure you were, because that was a really fantastic tournament to watch, you probably recognize SMG and Orangutan. They were the finalists, of course, from last year. RRQ, Kaguya, and Sapphire, those are going to be some players that you recognize as well. But we do have 2 new teams qualifying for this Open. But before we get into the juicy details, let's take a look at the prize pool for this particular tournament. It's going to be a nice, solid $10,000 up for grabs here, with the first place walking away with the majority lion's share, so as to speak of $3,500. But there's something for everybody, Miko, which is still pretty nice.
Oh yes, definitely. And of course, as we did mention, it's all of those points that teams are racking up for the circuit, right? So they are gaining ground right now, and especially since entering Open 2, you're fresh off of the momentum that you gathered from Open 1. You can carry that into Open 2 and hopefully go for that stretch in Open 3. But right now, for these teams, oh, I hope that they're ready for their debut here in Open 2, especially since we do hear some rumblings already from a lot of these teams, like what they can do. And then for like, the newcomers, like for example, the Hero KDA, even for maybe for like Global Esports Phoenix as well, they really do want to make a splash here as they debut here in Open 2.
Yeah, I think that for GE Phoenix, they had a little bit of a rough time during the last playoff. They didn't make it the first time out of the gate. That was like pretty commendable that self. But apart from that, they seem to struggle a little bit. But this is their second time around in the playoffs. They're definitely showing that consistency that you'd like to see from a team. On the other side, of course, if you do look at this bracket, we do have them facing off in their opener against the Hero KDA, which is kind of a newcomer to this playoff stage. If you look at the other games as well, I think that in particular, the one that I'm super excited for is Full-Send Sapphire versus RRQ Kaguya, because this is a game that we've seen for the last 2.5 years, give or take, I'd say.
Yeah, that one's definitely looking exciting. If you actually look at all of these matches that we have today, it's kind of like everybody's kind of going through a trial by fire. It's like your very first day, and you have these banger matches going on. We will be having the Hero KDA up against Global Esports Phoenix up first, followed by Full-Send Sapphire versus RRQ Kaguya. And don't forget, guys, we also do have a second stream, FSL, that is twitch.tv FSL_2, for Points of Authority versus Team SMG and Big Size versus Orangutan X. So do check them out. You can kind of like shuffle in between. A lot of us do that too. Why not?
I do that between panels and casts. Don't tell anybody. But there's a lot of
it's our
Today.
secret. Everybody watching here is our secret. Okay, don't tell anybody. But yes, indeed, it's gonna be really exciting. As I mentioned, it's like a baptism of fire for so many teams on their very first day here at Open 2. So it looks like we're not beating around the bush here. We're just gonna get right into it. Especially like you do have I believe it was Points of Authority taking on Team SMG. Look at that, your first day at the office and it's Team SMG right away, Zach.
I mean, you better face them at the beginning than the end, because it's even more depressing in a way if you make it all the way to that grand finals and then you have to face them there. At least now you get over with. Either you win or you lose, so you're done with it. You know what's happening either way, and then you can have like kind of chiller lower bracket run. I feel like SMG is kind of that demon, that boss fight that you gear up for. You spend your time crafting potions, getting like the ultimate smithing armor. SMG is like that boss battle at the end of every game that you face off against.
Oh, and speaking of chilling, we are going to go into a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to go straight into the action with our first series of the day. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. everybody. We are back for the first day and the first series of Open 2 here at VCT Game Changers APAC. You are back with me, Mika Fabs, and Zach, and we have up first the Hero KDA or Global versus Global Esports Phoenix. And I think the big question, of course, is like just how heroic the Hero KDA is going to be up against Global Esports Phoenix, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about these two teams, of course, the Zero KDA, they're kind of the new kid on the block. Their only loss in the group stage was to Orangutan, who was the finalist of last Open. So one of the more challenging opponents, you gotta say. But apart from that, they've had a pretty good record, 5-1 record in that Swiss stage. And this is their first time qualifying for the playoffs over the course of this year. Some familiar names, which we will, I believe, be talking about as we head into the team rosters. And they're up against Global Esports Phoenix, who, while last time around they didn't have, what you'd call the best finish, they still made the playoffs after the team was right after the team was formed. So it's still a pretty commendable result for them. And of course, the goal here is to always improve. And I'm really hoping that they have managed to get that into place. There's been a little bit of roster reshuffling coming around for this team. One player, I believe, has been subbed out, but aside from that, it's the same core. So hopefully they've had time to kind of work on their strats and refine the already kind of good gameplay that we saw coming out of them last time around.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing several roster shuffles actually, as we, see all of these teams come into, the battlefield, right? Because it's also going to be so interesting because of the different chemistry that happens when, these players come into the fray. But right now, coming into this match, I believe that, Global Esports Phoenix, on paper, they are the favorites, but I feel like it's way too early to tell for both of these teams. As you mentioned, Global Esports Phoenix, they did have an impressive run in the Swiss stages as well. So did, the Hero KDA, I guess, because you mentioned they only had one loss to Orangutan X, but I'm like, I get it. Sure, you lost to them AFSR strong, right?
Yes, the forest for the win. But looking at the roster for the Zero KDA, you probably recognize some familiar names for this team. Of course, I believe we saw Olulu and Snowkey put up a pretty impressive performance in the LCQ of last year in APAC Game Changers. So some familiar names, and of course Hanu has been kind of a mainstay of this team. Apart from that, Iceling and RKNY, they're kind of they've also been around the scene, not as popular as the other three, I would say. But overall, this is a roster that, having come together, they barely missed out on making playoffs in Open 1. I think they were I think they lost because of round differential, if I'm not wrong. So they're definitely one of the strongest teams out there.
Yep, and going here into a Global Esports Phoenix, we have Vela, we have Kiri, Meow, 16K, Muffin Loop, and Rose here. And as we mentioned, yes, you do have some familiar names over here as well. And I believe that this roster also went through some, I would say, last-minute changes here, Zach.
Yeah, I believe that their Sentinel player, Haifei, I don't know why exactly, but she is no longer part of the lineup. So their 6th-player, Baila, is stepping up to the plate here, filling up that role. But apart from that, they still have the same stars shining through. I think that in that last Open, a key component for GE's success was Meow 16K and Muffin Loop, and they've kind of been that dynamic duo over ever since Valorant came out. I gotta say, they've been playing together for a while. They have that synergy, and Rose, of course, as a team IGL, has to kind of put her chess pieces in the right place to make sure that they power through. And the question is, can they do that this time?
Looking at how these teams perform in the Swiss stages, I was just looking at reviewing some of their stats and everything. And I feel like the interesting thing to note about the Hero KDA is that they have very initiator-heavy comps with Lulu and Hana, and they tend to be the top performers of the team too. So I wonder how that's going to go up against GE Phoenix right here. As we check out our map pool, we're heading into Ascent, Fracture, and Haven. And on the side of Global Esports Phoenix, the team can be very, very flexible. Other than Muffin, I believe, Meow can also flex from duelist to controller, and Kiri can either be initiator or control. So I'm wondering how that's all going to mix up, especially here on Ascent, where it's it's a very 50-50 map, and everybody's going to be pushed into their fundamentals.
Yeah, it's the map that's been haunting every single team from eternity, I gotta say. But GE, they did pick it up a little bit throughout that Switch stage. They had a couple of close games. I think that against a team called Baby Beast Free Agent, who again is one of those teams that almost qualify. They had a very narrow win heading into this particular one. That's the only time that they really picked up this map over that group stage. So it's kind of like a no-win quantity for them. This is, of course, the pick of the Hero KDA, and they've had a pretty good time on this map. They had a 13-4 against a team called Halo Freya. They've been playing it quite a bit over time, so I think that it is a map that they're fairly confident on, which is why they're probably starting off on it.
Ooh, okay. So I feel like, we are heading into Fracture and Haven as well. And I feel like that kind of favors Global Esports Phoenix. And, the Hero KDA, I feel like they would probably maybe do better here on Ascent on the first map, just because I feel like they have the most experience and probably the better track record here. They could, I mean, I feel like they haven't exactly, had a like completely pristine or stellar performance, especially up against a what could be a potential powerhouse here in global esports Phoenix. But who knows? I mean, Ascent is a very strange map where we've seen strange comebacks happen here, Zach.
Very strange indeed. And for the record, GE have a 100% win rate on this particular map. They haven't played it much, true, but so far at least their record is pristine. And they're probably looking to keep that going, even if that isn't their map pick. They're probably looking to kind of maintain that heading into this one. But like you mentioned, Mika, I think this is going to be more of a war of attrition than something that's going to be resolved very quickly, because both of these teams, they've had a kind of like a mixed success, I gotta say, on map number 3 if it gets that far. But when it comes to Fracture, GE by far has, again, a perfect record. And this is a map that they've been playing a lot over the course of the year. And they've beaten teams like Orangutan on this one. They've beaten Ghost Irene. And recently, yeah, so they have a pretty good track record on Fracture. So if it does get into that particular map, I think we'll be seeing a little bit of Meow 16K raise action on this one, which I'm personally very excited about.
I'm actually excited to see Olulu and Hana. Their tandem seems to be very, very interesting. As I mentioned, they heavy initiators, because these two, I do believe Olulu as initiator dropped 52 kills versus Points of Authority, and Hana as initiator as well dropped 78 kills versus Savage. I mean, that does say a lot, especially since these two, I mean, like, I think that Global Esports has to kind of like bunker down if these two are leading the fray for the side of Hero KDA.
It's kind of funny, actually. I think that last year, around, I think that Hanu actually did play with Meow 16K and Muffin Loop at some point. So there is also that little bit of old teammates hello there on the opposite side history coming up as well on. But, I think in particular, Hanu is one of those players that has like really, really impressive aim. I think that most of last year she was on that chamber, and switching over to that flex roll, she's still able to pull off the same kind of nutty shots that you see on that Headhunter. And already to start things off, we're going to be getting a KO pick coming in for the Hero KDA. Personally, I like KO a lot. I feel like teams don't really pick him up enough, and I really wish we saw more of it. On the opposite side, it's going to be the Breach instead coming in for Rose. And I feel like Breach, while very powerful, it depends on how well you're able to kind of set Muffin Loop up. And if Rose and Muffin Loop can kind of find that chemistry, it might be what GE needs to like kind of break through this map despite it not being the pick.
Yeah, I feel like on the side of Global Esports, right, Rose and Baylor, I believe, are the bookends with their usual initiator and sentinel picks, right? That KO, though, is definitely there to kind of like mitigate Baylor's role, right? Especially like with the Killjoy. So I'm wondering how, Global Esports Phoenix are gonna attack this, especially since, as we mentioned, I'm expecting the Hero KDA to really go full on into attack here and trying to swing the momentum on their side. Hopefully, if they want to take this from Global Esports Phoenix.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a protracted battle. I do see the Killjoy coming out on both sides, which is completely understandable. Even when Chamber was meta, Killjoy, Ascent was always Killjoy's playground. I am a little bit sad we're not seeing Gecko and his little buddies coming in, but there's always time. We have a lot more maps coming up. But talking about, I think in the end, it's gonna come down to who sets up their jet better. But, I think you've heard us theorycraft enough. We're gonna get into the actual game now with our wonderful casters, Tash and Quack. Take it away.
Mika and Zach, thank you very much, and it's so good to be here again at the VCT Game Changers APAC Series 2023. This is open to Tash Buddy and Quack here, your casters, and honestly, I think this is a great opening for day one.
I mean, it has to be. This is where things start, and it's going to be between these two teams where they have to fight through their chance, like kind of what Zach said. You got to earn your spot to face off against SMG at the end of it all, right? And that's kind of what could happen next. The team that actually wins this will probably have to face SMG tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's really scary when you think about it, because if you look at track records, SMG has had a very, very clean round coming forward into this tournament, because they didn't drop a single map. And in fact, I would say they were farming, because their score in every single map was 13-4, 13-6, 13-7. It's actually very, very scary how far ahead they are of the rest of the teams.
It might be scary, but, let's focus back into this game, right? Because that's what's important here. This is what it means. If they win, they get to earn that spot. They get to earn that chance to take down SMG. It could happen, and we won't really know until we see it happen tomorrow. At least for now, it's going to be between the Hero KDA as well as Global Esports Phoenix. And the story between these two teams, kind of like what our panelists were just talking about, it's going to be kind of close. You know, we could actually go to a full 3 mapper today because starting things off in Ascent, first of all, agent compositions are rather similar, Tash. Maybe with the slight difference between the KO and the Breach.
Yeah, when you think about KO and Breach, I think that Breach is a lot more of a hard initiation, and it means that you have to really be quick on your feet in trying to follow up with that, as opposed to KO where you have a little bit more time. Now, KO initiation, I feel it really disables the enemy, so they're not able to use their utils, but at the same time, having a KO like Olulu on a team can get rid of, you know, all the utils, like, you know, it doesn't allow for Meow to reposition herself or drop her smokes, doesn't really allow for Kiri to drop her recon, doesn't allow for Bela's bots to be popped off over on maybe A or even B. But if you look at the, I would say, dynamics of these players, I mean, these are not, I would say for most of these players, this is not their first rodeo on the big stage, or at least for Game Changers APAC. Because if you remember, Hannah used to be with Nick Galaxy, which came pretty strong over in the final moments of VCT APAC LCQ. And then you also have, you know, who made it to, I think, Global Elite. And then after that, you have also Snowkey and also Olulu, who played together during X Team BO that came in really close and honestly surprised us all as a new team.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing, is that both these teams are pretty much seasoned when it comes to Game Changers APAC. They have both played so much in it before. Hannah, yes, having been Enigma Galaxy female, she's been in Rising Hope, she's even been on Asteria, which is where some of the players from Global Esports Phoenix, such as Muffin Loop, Mao 16K, they might have been on those teams as well. So there is a bit of familiarity between the two teams back and forth, but at the same time, this is where no holds are barred. You know, you're gonna have to go at each other's throats, and it's quite scary when it comes to this one. On a map like Ascent, if you're taking a look at their past performances, yes, like Zach said, Global Esports Phoenix, they have a 100% win rate. But it's also true that their sample size is not that big. They've only played it twice. They did win those 2 times, but it was 13-11 and 13-10. Meanwhile, if you take a look at a team like the Hero KDA, it's 83%, and they've played this map 6 times. They've won 5 out of 6 times. This is why they've picked this, and they are starting out on the attacking side.
Regardless, if we look at their past matches, this was the map that that THK actually lost to previously on their run toward coming to today. Regardless, you can see all the utils drop down.
Scanning ahead.
And a recon to at least just see that no through the smoke. You can see that someone's already been blinded. And Ashlyn pushed back to main, but look at those picks already. Olulu starts first, but the shot dart kill onto Ashlyn makes it so very huge. Another shot down comes out, clears the person from inside of Boathouse straight into the arms of a teammate.
Strong decides to tip, but now she has to hold. Able to get 2 as they line up straight for her. Oh my god, Tash.
I can't believe that happened. Very clean tabs coming forward as Muffin Loop, a 1v2 stuck. Gonna just
one enemy
outward
remaining.
area, picks one off. If she's able
low.
to get this properly, yes, she does! A huge round for Muffin Loop. 4 in the bag.
And that is one heck of a way to start the pistol round, am I right, Tash? Oh my gosh. I mean, a little bit messy, you might say. It's a clear execute from THK. They rush straight in and they do it together as a team, losing some members in the process. But what happens towards the end is that THK sets up their post-plant positions out by Boathouse. They make sure to iron out the kinks and just look at these 2 straight angles that they need to look out for. Getting those 2 lined up shots from Hannah was great, but at the same time, they were both low as a result. Because of that, Muffin Loop was able to come in and clean up 4-0 as a KDA starting things off. She is basically 2 points away from her ultimate now, and she's got a Marshall to boot.
Great start, but this tomorrow is going to be an A hit. That one way, that smoke buys a bit of time at the end. So this one's supposed to go down, and Meow 16K swings out by Skyla timing for those utils back, but she still gets 2! How did she get away with that?
One enemy
Oh
remaining.
no, and now the one way comes out.
Yeah,
Ashlyn, the last one left.
Does she get a gun away is the question, but she's getting pinned from 2 sides.
Wow, so
Another
embarrassing.
good round. I don't think Muffin Loop actually bought anything. Oh, she did. She bought the Marshall.
Yeah, and that's where she's able to net one more frag. So I don't know what to say, Tash. It was a little bit unfortunate, a series of unfortunate events, if you will, because of this one replay. The Nanos being thrown out, but then they weren't quite able to capitalize on Bela having her utility in her hand instead of her gun. She was still able to get the spray transfer, and as long as the rest of her squad does the same thing, you know, it's good. But here comes Noki just rushing in.
Look how aggressive she is! Understanding that she has the Vandal in hand, she's going aggressive, going ham, and she wants to take away every single advantage that GE has. Door's gonna close, that fragment will at least buy a little bit of space for them. Kiri gonna use that recon.
Planted.
Aldrone, prepped out.
Take flight.
They break the window, they do have an idea that someone is playing by tree. Snooki playing close.
Enemy
I
tag.
don't think they got her out yet, but Ashlyn will be clearing it out for her. Bela, I think she has an idea now, probably has heard the footsteps from Snooki and another one in hell. As RKNY gonna drop her turret, they will buy some time, slow them down as they're trying to go into the site itself, and it's so very hard. They don't have the right weapons for these long-range fights. RKNY finds one. Kiri, straight out by
enemy
Ashley in
remaining.
return. RKNY playing from main. It's just doing so much work too already. As Rose, with only a sheriff in hand, she'll just try to at least get another gun. Since no exit frags are happening, she's just gonna go down to the spike. Excuse me.
And that's just a clean take from THK. Wow, Tash. I mean, we start things off with a perfect A main execute. The way that they just did it together. You have to watch the replay on that because you could see that Snow was supported by her teammates. I think you had Ashlyn, maybe a paranoia. There was a bit of contention from GE as well, but Snow was able to dash over them along with the updraft and the flashes from her teammates, and that allowed her to get the first two frags. The rest of them just made their way onto the site. There wasn't that much the site anchors could do, and at that point, 3v5 or 3v4 retakes still not quite able to happen. But now, same thing.
Oh, just look at that. Meow 16K playing aggressively with Snooki. Well, her teammate did go down. She still trades out for two. I think it's a very working situation, but now she's stuck. She's able to reposition herself. But look at the damage from RKNY. They weren't expecting her nano slump to be there. It's just teleported onto it.
Unlucky. 3 on 4. And THK has to reassess the situation. So they know that A is pretty heavily reinforced by this point. So maybe just rotating over onto the B site. Meanwhile, Global Esports Phoenix, they have a big opportunity here. They can explore parts of the map and call that different parts are clear. But they're also trying to be safe, so they don't really have that much information towards A main. It comes down to Bela and her hold up by B.
And Bela has been doing a pretty decent job holding. Because not that a lot of hits were hitting into B site. Her turret gives her all the information she needs. She blocked out all those util. Unfortunately, wasn't able to react to Hannah's swing. Now they prepare for that post plant. It's still a 3-on-3. Hannah playing close to what market. Near logs. And I think that log area, I would like to call the log area. Yes. The null command gets activated. They're still just trying to clear out those corners. They're disabled. Olulu wait the right time. Just throw out her flash. Still, no one reacted. It's a very, very slow movement into the site. As RKNY is just look at the micro angle she's holding. If anyone were to cross, she will just immediately kick out. She's found up one out and then as well. No, right, but Hannah! It's RKNY! It's getting two already in the back. Nothing loop all around, unfortunately. Not able to use the right to the place is all she needs, but Olulu was just faster. I don't think they picked up the op. They're going forward with just rifles.
Yeah, they don't want that thing. Especially since they're attacking too, right? But I'm so happy that you caught that positioning coming in from Olulu as well as her teammate. At the same time, it was a great start from Meow 16. Uses the shroud set to get blind, but The rest of the round, with the way that THK collapsed onto the B site, set up those post-plant positions, along with Olulu as that with a pop flash, like you mentioned, Tash, that really broke apart GE's retake. They were not able to come back after that, so the score will be 2-2 right now. Meow, she has a From the Shadows, but I don't know how useful that's going to be. RKNY, with the lockdown, could be much more effective going in with those site takes.
Yeah, I think that RKNY can use it not only for just a take, but also those post-plant situations. I think that for the hero KDA, they've never really had a big problem getting onto the site, especially since the rifle rounds already happened. But in this situation, I think that for GE, a faster rotation together might be something that they could look into, because if anything, I realized that by the time they rotated onto the site, they had already lost 2 or 3 teammates and weren't able to really chain together the abilities or enable their teammates to go in for those frags.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just a tough situation, right, Tash?
It really is.
Your teammate's already gone, the side anchor, eliminated, and at that moment, although they were already starting to rotate, they already lost that timing, that opportunity. And that's why I was saying it was kind of important for them to to maybe peek out and get further information. They were still betting on the fact that they could reinforce the A site. Maybe THK were cutting noise, maybe not, but that's why information is so important in a game like this. And in fact, Global Esports Phoenix actually does have the composition for this. They have 2 initiators, Kiri as well as Rose. The Sova being available to them is something they could use to their advantage, but that said, sometimes you lose your teammates earlier on in the process and it doesn't really pan out the way that you'd hoped. So you're going to have to be very careful. We started off the past 2 rounds with so much contention towards A main now. I wonder if it's going to be the same thing.
It's really interesting when you think about it, because, I mean, for a lot of people talking about Ascent, they're saying that it's so defense heavy, but the hero KDA knows exactly what to do to break into the site. And sometimes you see them, they're not hesitant. Once they want to hit a site, they really actually just really fully commit to it. It's very different than GE Phoenix in terms of their retakes just now, because I felt like they took around 3 to 4 seconds to really figure out how exactly do we approach getting onto the site. And it feels like they forgot that perhaps we should be doing something to clear out main first. And but the thing is, I don't blame them at the same time, because of I think it was a null command, or rather the knife from Olulu, that disabled them from doing so. So they had to rely on pure raw aim. And when you have that, I would say that post-plant positioning hold that Hannah as well as RKNY had, one at logs, one at main, it really catches you off guard, because even if RKNY were to go down, Hannah were to swing out, and it would likely still be the same outcome.
And that is the strength of that post-plant hold from Hero KDA, along with Olulu's ultimate, right, Tash? Like, you are so right. I'm so glad that you brought this up. I'm freaking impressed with you, Tash, because it's all of these utilities. It really disabled GE Phoenix from coming into the site with their retake. And, just thinking about it right now, they don't have the buys. Their economy's broken. There's not much they could do, but the round is starting. So here we go back into it. It's a 3-man stack.
Area.
They seem to want to reinforce B more, but it could be Muffin playing very aggressively. And in these rounds, when they are on the eco, I do love these aggressive pushes, because the idea is, how can we triple their economy as aggressively as we can? However, THK already on the site. Miscalculated once again. They thought that it's going to be more of a B hit, but everyone has been running to A.
It's not so bad. You have 3 people on a flank. Everyone's on the site, though, and they're looking to push further in.
I love how they take up so much space. They understand that because they have the guns in their hands, they can go a little bit more aggressive. They took up so much space and disables them from getting onto the site at all. Byla, let's find a headshot onto RKNY. From Hannah. She takes a little bit too much damage, and expects Kiri to already be onto the site. But Ashley and Olulu are here to help out on the backside. Eileen, 1 more to find. Rose finally took out. A little bit too late, I would say, on that rotation. The timing, unfortunately, didn't sync up.
Kind of almost doable. You know, we were watching Hannah's perspective from the site itself, you know, around Generator, and she wasn't quite able to land the shots, trying to dance between back and forth covers. But at the end of it, Global Esports Phoenix, as much space as they tried to take, they couldn't really close in on it because THK, they still had the firepower. They still managed to put up that wall between them and the site. So GE, different approach this round. We're just going for defaults and information. No more flanks. We have the guns. Let's hold on to them. Muffin Loop on the operator is something that I'm looking at. Is she going to go for an opening pick up by a short?
You know what's really been impressing me? Just Hannah's geometry on that sofa. I wonder how many lineups she has when you think about it, because we've been watching her since last year, and even though she wasn't primarily so much on the Sova before, but every time she plays the Sova, it always impresses me at how many different ways she can approach throwing out her shock darts or even her recon. Regardless, Snowkey gets tagged out by that Aldrone. It gives her information, and immediately Muffin Loop will be repositioning herself for mid-side. Push up on the teammate, a flash as well. Meow 16k gets two. Snowkey does answer back by Muffin Loop, but Meow 16k says no more. That's all you're gonna get. With only 8 HP left though.
Still, that is impact. And finding that as the controller, she is living up to her name as one of the MVPs for G Phoenix.
Left.
Now on to a 2-on-4 situation. THK, they only can press forward.
And they just take their time. Rose still holding. She does spot one. I don't think she spotted two, but her teammate was there. Throws out the paranoia. Nothing happens. Flash out RKNY, forced to reposition herself away from Tree. She's already on the side, playing so very open. At least gonna take out space while her teammates go for the plant. Displaced by the ability. Unfortunately, both of them get spotted out here. Meow 16k, and I love her one more. Clean take from 3 different areas. That was nothing the hero KDA could do.
Really not at all. Like after Meow 16k made that hold up by A short, THK were completely stopped in their tracks, Tash. And that's what you want to see from Global Esports Phoenix. When they have these buys, when they're playing safe that way, getting information. Yes, we see Hannah with the lineup, and that's what we expect from a Sova main like her, but still, you know, you're exchanging information. Your presence is made known, and off of these little bits of utility, Global Esports Phoenix gets those tells. They manage to make reads off of that, and it's so cognizant that Meow 16k knows how to position herself. She's 8-4 right now, and she's looking to make more impact for the team.
That's really good, the way that she plays with her teammate. She was just offering support, or rather playing the front line behind Muffin Loop to enable her. But because Muffin Loop went down, her swinging out and a good reposition allowed her to land so many picks in that particular round. And now we're seeing a slower round now from THK because they're trying to figure out how exactly to approach this. Because before this, how they've been playing is just playing toward the mid side, whether it be toward grass, mostly toward catwalk and toward tree. And I think the first time it worked out, the second time it didn't. Now they're trying to approach B side and see how exactly they can recover from those 2 rounds they weren't able to win.
Here.
Be really careful about this though. Every fuse has to be smoked off perfectly, and this is the classic jet dash into sight. Nanostorms to push them further back. I think THK has this down to the bag.
Regardless, you can see the lockdown used as Hannah playing close. And we do know that she's really good at close combat, if you remember. She's really good at repositions, she's really good at just moving away. She can go for a good spray as well. No one, actually one player will be detained as GE trying to find a way inside of sight.
Not that big a deal, but yeah, the main thing for GE right now is how they make their way into sight. So they're going to go through B main with 3 players. If they can take down RKNY, this will break open THK's post-plant setup.
And they also have their own lockdown just to really flush them out. RKNY is going to check your corners. That's not happening. Snowkey and RKNY 2 each in the bag, and Hannah for 1 more. And up for Muffin Loop does find Ace. Regardless, she's trying to reposition herself. She wants to keep this up if possible. Get 1 more. Do not peek and up 1 by 1. It's very, very crucial they don't do that. And now Snowkey just trying to go for that wall bangs. Gives away her position, but in this situation, losing 2 and more might not be ideal and will just enable Muffin Loop more.
Oh, well, despite Muffin Loop getting a couple of frags towards the end of that round, you can see Snow just smiling because she knew that they still had the round.
Exactly.
Hero KDA, I mean, that is the strength of their post-plant setup. It's a little bit unfortunate because Global Esports Phoenix, they kind of operate around some assumptions, not really making sure that B-main was clear before the lockdown was set up. It gave RKNY that information. She expected them to swing after the lockdown was placed, and that's why you could see her watching that angle. She peeked on her own. She managed to get a couple before falling, and all of that kind of contributed to THK earning that extra round. So 4-3 right now, and we have the timeout being called by Global Esports Phoenix.
I like how THK plays so close. You had Hannah either playing logs or beside a market door. You have RKNY always positioned on main. And they're playing these very nasty corners that in situations where you have to go for retakes, they're capitalizing on the idea that Panic, or rather the GE Phoenix, just kind of like tunnel visioning on the idea of trying to get that site. And because they took up so much space and held onto it, they're always ready to go for a multi-frag. Remember, in the previous rounds before, Hannah and RKNY were able to take 2 down. Now they got 3 before they even hit there, and that was all from
Nowhere to run!
no charge.
That's where there's so much more value that can be found, but this time back towards the A site. I don't know if Global are ready for this. They have 3 players here, though.
Yeah, but look at Kiri's!
down A.
Hunter's Fury gets 2! Beautifully lined up, and Muffin Loop tries to hide herself away from the outdrone. I don't think they spotted her out just yet, but Muffin Loop and Night will swing out by Snowkey. That's already, their jewel is out of the way. Might be a little bit harder to get onto the site, given the fact there's still 5 left still alive. Now, if GE were to able just maintain their hold, this might be a whole different story, but Meow 16K will be playing the proactive player and rushing out and moving into Wine.
Got paranoia prepped as well. Oh, but she gets pinged by Hannah.
Yeah, she knows where she is, but a fake teleport? I think Hannah suspects she's still there. A jump peek, just to give her a little bit of information. The flash comes through. Unfortunately, she's still stuck, and Hannah takes him down. She knows where Muffin Loop is. Ooh, bold
30
move,
seconds left.
peeking out to get a spike, and I think they're trying to prep their way or move their way to the B site.
30 seconds though. And look at where Bela is positioned up by Tile. She gets first contact onto this, first information onto this. The team can entirely rotate off of the noise that she hears.
Last player standing.
But they didn't realize Bela was there! And isn't this such a... Well, how the turntables? Because before this, in those nasty corners, were always Hannah and RKNY.
Yeah, very much so, but you know, this is what happens with the A-site crunch, and then you get information off of it. You have Kiri landing the double Hunter's Fury. It's just really Global Esports banking on the right side, getting the information and playing off of it really well. This time, instead of having Bela anchor down the site so far back, she moves up front and gets even more information. In contrast to the previous round that we saw, now Muffin Loop still on the operator, getting further information up by mid. THK no longer going for those site executes.
You can't take their time with Bela just shooting out the turret. It gives away the information. Snowkey with the blades. We know how aggressively she can play. All she needs is to be able to see that head. Now, the turret gave away its position. She moves quickly. Unfortunately, then her knives all you. Rose. Sorry, it's Bela. Moves away. She respects that space. But Rose is on the other side for that trade. And it's beautifully done when you think about it. Because all she was just distraction. But
Distraction, information. Hannah finds one up by mid as well. So this could open up another rotation for the hero KDA. Global Esports Phoenix has to figure out a way to respond to this in kind.
Yeah, and Kiri with the owl drone as well. They want to get the information on mid because the idea for GE, for a lot of times, you can't really pinpoint where THK is coming from because of their ability to get space. Sometimes it's a full execute. Sometimes because it takes time around Muffin Loop by Snowkey punishes her for daring to drive peek forward. Another shot rather her swing out a little bit too late. Olulu at least answers back, gets one more. Unfortunately, gets found out by
10
RKNY.
seconds
Look at
left.
how exactly THK comes in
Spike
from the
planted.
site. So many different
One
areas.
enemy remaining. One enemy
Wow.
remaining.
Tries to go for 2. Not happening. Lulu is so very low. We're down to 1 versus 1. She heard the window broken,
Oh.
and immediately they move out of the way. Not sure if Rose had exactly wanted to do that on purpose, but they can hear her footsteps, so it gives her a little bit of an idea where to look at. Just to clear out Jen with that aftershock. I don't think she knows that she's inside of hell. She's been looking straight toward main because that is where exactly the post plants have been happening from. And slowly but surely, Olulu making her way to either side of the site, but unfortunately, or fortunately rather, wins it. 3 in the bag. But these rounds are very, very close.
Yeah, it comes down to the last player, right?
Seconds left.
Whenever it's RKNY and Olulu as the last player, kind of like what you mentioned before, Tash, they can dish out a lot of damage. This duo, when they play off of each other, with the utility that they have, they are strong. But at the same time, down to the one-on-one, Global Esports Phoenix, you know, sometimes they get that extra numbers advantage. But this time around, it was just the wrong kind of deduction or assumption made. So
Yeah.
not quite working out their way. Muffin Loop pops the blades this time, and she's looking for a lot of information up by mid.
I think the biggest problem now for GE has been not really, at least trying to get more information. Like just now, in the previous round, I would have preferred for her just to check instead of assuming that, you know, Alulu would be on main. But for now, it's going to be Snooki having to move away because her position has been compromised by that Owl drone.
And that forces some rotations on the side of the Hero KDA. Global Esports Phoenix still off of their default peeking in and out. Rose might be able to call that A main is clear, and this could allow for Meow to actually set herself back up towards Wine, which could be a very big detrimental setup for the Hero KDA as they approach the A site. This is perfect for Global Esports Phoenix.
You are
They
powerless.
all hear the null command come through. And GE Phoenix gonna be forced to play with just their aim. Rose final one, but swing out by Hannah takes it away, and she gets a little bit of upgrade. Ashlyn already with two with just the bulldog, and that is the advantage of
Spike
having
planted.
that K on your team, disabling any kind of utility that would take away either vision or even hearing. And now Kiri, I can wipe her too. She's been great with his multi-flags.
is ready. Can't use that
You're absolutely right, Tash. I mean, it might have been RKNY with the final 2 frags, but it's Olulu and her 0 point, or maybe even her null command that gives THK that advantage that they're looking for. I mean, look at how they disable Meow as well as Rose. These two were set up for the perfect crossfire. They were supposed to flash out with the paranoia, flash out with a flashpoint to disrupt any kind of push coming through. But because of that null command, you were right. They were forced to play with nothing but their aim, and it all fell apart. THK now 6-4. There's 2 rounds remaining, and they're not slowing down.
Oh man, it seemed so good at first, but speaking of good, Ashlyn, huge, fighting Meow 16k first. That smokes out. No more for
Oh,
them.
pushing out.
Yeah, they are, because they don't have the guns again. I've noticed that GE loves playing aggressive when they are on the eco, and the headshots have to land here. Ashlyn playing close, unfortunately, has to move away. Both of them will be taking a more defensive stance in that situation.
Falling back, they're gonna corral in towards the B site from the shadows there, and that's gonna be GE now playing catch up. This is not what I have starting out on the defensive side, Tash. This is not good for GEX.
Yeah, especially on this map. This map is so heavily defense-sided. At least this time around, they do clear out those corners, making sure RKNY isn't playing close in A lane, sorry, B lane. But Shock Dart just to buy some time, take up space. Another one used by Hannah. She's all out of utilities, but look at how low they are. Just taps into the smoke is what exactly Hannah is trying to do, and now suppression for GEX is making it so hard to get onto site. 1 HP left. Ashlyn finds
enemy
Rose.
remaining.
It's just a matter of time before they finally find Kiri. She landed head. Not gonna happen. Olulu has been really good with the swing outs.
And that
Last
is now
round in the half.
4-7. because GEX saved, they get to buy up this round, but just taking a look at what happened so far, RKNY, the entire team, THK has been nailing down Ascent. They have those setups, they have the right calls, and it's just so good. But you know what? Our panelists will break that down even further because, you know, there's so much that went on.
As we hit into round number 12, can they actually take another round forward is what I'm curious about. Here comes the Rolling Thunder, and look how aggressively GEX is playing this time around. Unfortunately, a miscalculation. No one was on B side. Look at how quickly THK has rotated on the A side. 2 members already at the side, 3 actually, and how fast they take up that space. They did not allow them to even take a single inch or give a single inch at all. Snowkey and Senna still playing close, bugs out, and now 16K clearing her out just like that. RKNY finds one more. Viola is able to clear her out. It's still very much winnable. Regardless, and Bela is good for 2. And she already has her lockdown. A surprise, Hannah building up proactive, taking out a space. Kiri answers back, finds Olulu. They break the lockdown, and now is down to the last 2 members.
Last player standing.
And Kiri,
One enemy
thankfully,
standing.
finds Ashlyn, and now Kiri is all alone. She's so very low. Walks into Hannah's crosshair, and we're going to the second half with a 4-8 score. So we're
Switching
gonna pass it over
sides.
to our panelists, Mika and Zach. See you guys in a bit.
It's been quite an explosive first half coming out of both these teams, but especially
Last player
Zero
standing.
KDA, Hero KDA, my bad. They have been looking absolutely fire on this particular attacking side. Firstly, of course, like you talked about, Mika, their initiators, they've been doing great to set things up, but overall, I think just the individual level of play coming from each player, they are looking clean.
Yeah, I think that one thing that surprised me the most is like, I was looking at their setup, and with Olulu and Hana, I was like thinking, oh my gosh, look at this wonderful support that Snoke has to be able to get onto the site. But then I realized they're not even playing into that. Like, Snoke doesn't even need that. They can actually use their utility to do something else entirely. So it's like they don't even need that kind of support for her to get that kills. And I'm also surprised at like how Hero KDA is kind of like hanging back a little and just waiting for GE to make mistakes, which unfortunately they are making quite a lot here in Ascent, Zach.
Yeah, it's been kind of like very basic ones, like not checking your corners. And I think their biggest flaw right now is that even though individually they're able to put up some great routes, like for example, Meow 16K finding that 4K towards mid and short, or Muffin Low popping off of that operator, I feel like as a team, their synergy is just not exactly ideal. Like even in that last round that we saw when that diffuse was coming through, Kiri was able to find one pick, but there wasn't much communication. They could have taken that 2v1 together. There was enough time, but instead it was just a very awkward 1v1 kind of situation, and there were a lot of those in their defensive rounds. And the question is, can they buck things up on attack? Because unless they find that synergy, it's going to be very difficult for them to really make it work on a side like attack, on a map like Ascent.
And unfortunately, I have to also point out how Global Esports, they were just setting up the stage for RK, for example, to just hang back and lurk, because they weren't even checking where she was. So she just had to hide in the corner, and even if they put on the lock and she was right next to it, they weren't even checking, which I kind of feel like was like, setting her up for success the whole time. And you can see that in the numbers itself. She was top frag for the side of the Hero KDA on that half. So very interested to see how they're going to take it into defense and how Global Esports can come back from this if they can. So over to the casters for our second half.
Thank you very much, Mika and Zach, for that breakdown. Now, coming into round number 13 is where things are going to get very, very interesting, because THK has been doing really well on attack, and we all know that this map is more defense-sided. Regardless, I'm just really curious to know Quack's, thoughts on this map, on how exactly they would fare on the more, I would say, attack on the defensive side for THK.
Well, that remains to be seen, right? We're just starting things out. We have a lot of mid presence. GX approaching in towards the A site. This team has such good setups with their double initiator comp. I expect a lot of good retakes from them as well.
Yeah, sometimes you don't really... Sometimes you think that it might be a double sentinel, it might be better. But, you know, when it comes to retakes, it's also something to think about and how comps are done. Regardless, look at this hold from tree here with Rose and Muffin Loop both running these very high DPS guns. You have Rose with the classic quickly finding Ashlyn as Muffin Loop tries to rush forward. She only spotted out one player. Antoine nearly taken down. Right click from the classic is not something to look down on as Bela has been back
enemy
by
remaining.
Snowkey. RKNY has been so good at making sure that all rounds are secure with her multi-frag. And I think she does such a good shot in general. Honestly, I think this year is the year of the Sentinels. Because across all regions, Sentinels have been, I don't know, just really sweeping me off my feet with how well they rely on the gunplay.
I mean, that's why they're the Sentinels, right? They're either side anchors or they're the backline defenders, which means that most times they're the last player left alive, and they have a lot of chances to make those impacts heard because RKNY comes in huge with these final moments where she cleans up a lot of these frags. Off the information that her team gets, she's able to come in and retake the site, and that's exactly what we just saw, but here we go back into it. It's GEX with a 4 spot.
They're forcing this because they're just a little bit too far behind, a 9-4. And they need to make something happen. Nades popped and they also find that alarm bot at least gives them a little bit of space to work with, but the information has been relayed to the other members of THK. Look at them holding a double hold here on Haven. One watching tree and one watching Haven as Muffin Loop, making sure no one is rotating in from tree. Algerm comes out, spots her out. She has to respect that space, a deeper smoke at least, to not allow THK to get out to sight.
It's gonna be tough. On both sides still though. Oh, but Meow actually pushes up front, but then he gets taken out.
Last player
And all the
standing.
angles being held. Hannah even with the Aeries. It's not gonna be much until the final frag goes through. And it's gonna be an easy defuse.
Of course it's gonna be Hannah on that Aries if you think about it. It's gonna really suits her and her personality. And I think for a Sova on defense on this map, this is such a map that I would say, I mean, for this map in particular, you know the saying, right? Like, a scent is made of paper, and that's exactly why the Aries works so well for her. And I was kind of hoping to see more of that for on the defensive side for GE Phoenix, but then again, they don't have the Sova, so they need to really find a way, and they don't have the Heart Recon as well, so that's probably why they didn't go for that. But for Hannah, this works out very well, and honestly, the hero KDA, as you predicted before, Quack, has been really good with those retakes. Yeah, they kind of lose the sight maybe, but at the same time, because they have so much utility coming forward, it's so hard for them to even pick up the sight again. But Snowkey with the opening, she's playing a little bit more aggressive, a very proactive stance for the defensive side, and she gets 2 already, understanding the value that the Spectre can bring on this round.
And this is great because now they have the numbers advantage. They also have information that GX are setting up on the A site. All they need to do is to make sure the side is clear. Maybe have some smokes up by A main and they should have this in the bag.
So Lulu finds one now, okay, but see, here he with the headshot gets 2. Then she's over 3, not quite. Hannah stops her. A nice little push ball by Hannah just to disallow them to that space, but Bela still stuck with Lulu. The defuse still goes through. She's all alone. Lulu just zigzagging left and right. Unfortunately, he has to move away, and Hannah with the right click finds Bela. That was very chaotic.
That still is a classic, you know? I mean, Hannah from the Philippines, she comes in and does this, all the information gathered. It's a perfect setup from THK, and it's very clear now to me that the hero KDA picked this map for this specific reason. This is why they've played this map 6 times compared to GX's 2. They have a lot of these strats, you know, coming in with the tiles crunch, KO flash over, Snow to dash in. And then at the same time, you also have Ashlyn and RKNY to push outside of B main. Now they're switching things up, going back to a slightly more default position because GE has the guns.
Even then, you just really gotta give it to THK, understanding how to use these guys. Like when they play Spectres, you see how they push, how they approach the sides as well, even on defense or attack. So sometimes they have these mixed buys, they have an idea on who walks in first, who plays the backside, who goes in a little bit more aggressively. And this setup, speaking of aggressive, Muffin look already on the side, in the space, and with that lockdown, it gives you a little bit more space to work with. But that's where things start to get a little bit more sketchy, because the utilities from THK can give them a lot of value because it's just initiators upon initiators. Olulu clears out these corners with the fragments, takes a little bit of damage. Arkin by Snooki find one each. And look at this battle of trades here from both teams. Now is down to a 2 versus 3. Rose unfortunately stuck on a main. Coming from inside of one. Now Season K finds the best situation. And she whittles down the number. And it's a beautifully done game around rather for this. And it puts the momentum back in their hands.
Just incredibly smart from GE Phoenix to actually play this way. Meow 16K kind of almost seemingly abandoning the site, right? She goes and rotates all the way around through tree again. And that's where THK kind of least expect her to strike. At the same time, you have Rose with that Rolling Thunder, just completely knocks all of them up. THK were not able to withhold at that point, and there is how you find that first round. This is where it starts. Maybe off of this, GE Phoenix can find more rounds, but it's going to be tough when you have guns on the side of THK. When you have Snow on her Bladestorm, she's dashing out, taking control over a main.
See Snooki play a little bit more aggressive, but this time around she's changing her stance. Previously, the last time she had her blades, she was the one dashing straight toward mid side, toward main. But they're understanding the stakes here. They don't want to be a little bit too aggressive and unfortunately, maybe even throw, because they don't want any advantage momentum to fall back into GE's hands.
Just trying to play it slow and steady. And they want to make sure that they can find that momentum, right, Tash? But I don't know. G has this set up as well. Muffin goes for the straight dash in. Here comes THK.
Yep, and Kyrie has to position herself at logs. No defense now Season K, and that is huge because without the paranoia, without the smokes, it might be a little bit too hard. Rose gets tagged by the turret, takes her out, but they have full control of the site. But here comes the Hunter's Fury. This combination so deadly alongside the blade, as well as the Null Command. The 3 ultimates popped, and it's so oppressive and dominating. 3 ultimates used, but it secures the round, giving them match point.
And momentum completely quashed. Swings things back into the Hero KDA's favor. It has to be now. I mean, another timeout possibly called, but I don't know how much more you can do. You need 7 rounds in a row just to even this out, just to bring this into overtime. So far, every step of the way, the Hero KDA are the ones with the setups. They are the ones with the right reads. Sometimes it goes back and forth, but when it comes down to these crucial rounds where you absolutely have to take that momentum, the Hero KDA steps up. They had those ultimates and they knew exactly how to make use of them. You saw that Hunter's Fury, right, Tash? You saw how Snow kind of updrafted upwards and took Meow 16K out, like he so adequately pointed out. No paranoias, no more smokes, and it was so difficult for GE to hold, even after they, even tried to get that spike planted. It's really tough. It's a tall mountain to climb from this point forward.
It is, and on top of that, they haven't been able to take momentum away from THK's hands. I was earlier saying during the pre-show that I was really concerned for THK because on this map they lost to OGX 5-13. That's a big number. And we might see a deja vu, and this time in their favor against GE.
It's entirely possible. But, the one crucial hope is that they have the buys, they have the timeouts. Surely they prepped for this.
Oh, look at how aggressive Snooki is! Now 16K gets taps 2 heads, but Snooki is just a little bit more proactive in taking up that space. A 2 for 2, but honestly, those 2 hit taps by Kiri was huge because now without Olulu and Hannah, Olulu is not able to stop those utility usages, and Hannah is not able to give them the information. And we know how quickly things go south when teams do not have a read on the enemy.
Still talking about reads. The current situation, we have GE trying to make their way into the B site. You have RKNY holding up by bottom mid, and she hears all of this. Information being called out now. And and they could set up for the perfect retake. Nanostorm already chipping some of them down. They might be able to get the spike plant, but can they hold it post-plant?
planted.
That is the question. Kiri only has a Sheriff still.
Slowly but surely, trying to make their way outside. This is where I always question how quickly can they move inside. They spot the Aldron, they take it out. Arcane Y has the Hunter's Fury. And they do counter it out with their own Hunter's Fury. Sorry, lockdown
Last
with the Hunter's
player
Fury.
standing.
It's a trade.
One enemy remaining.
Aishlin finds two. It's a 1 versus 1. Kiri playing from inside a boathouse. Just now, all she had was just the Sheriff. Can she land the attack on the head? That's what they know. But then she gets chipped down, playing slowly but surely attack, and slowly Aishlin gets it with a 3 in the pocket. And she's just so very good at playing with these corners. And now we go to the first map taken away by THK.
It's quite perfectly done, and this is why Ascent is their map. You saw how they set up that perfect execute by Amy. The dash into the dark cover, and you have that recon bolt as well. This is stuff I've seen in VCT Pacific, you know, and this is why Game Changers is so great, because they are such capable players that they are equally, strong, that they can make such things happen. At the same time, for GEX, they might have lost this map, but at the very least, the next round is going to be Fracture, is something that they have prepared for.
Regardless, we're going to be breaking it down with our panelists, with Mika and Zach on the desk. We'll see you guys in a little while for map number 2.
Map number 1 going over to the hero KDA. Pretty heroic indeed, as we saw. And Zach, we were talking, behind the scenes about how this team, they're playing pretty well. Their teamwork is quite stellar here, especially up against global esports, where it seems like they still need to find their footing here on this map.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite clear that the Zero KDA, they put the hero. I need to stop saying that. Like, zero to hero is just that phrase is stuck in my head. But yeah, they're definitely heroic on this map, like you mentioned. The hero KDA, I think they put a lot of groundwork on this map. You saw some of the strats coming out, like in that last round, where you did see that dash into the recon dart coming in and those multi-frets coming out. But more than that, I think every single player on this team in rounds, they were individually heroic. And of course, I feel like they had the reads, like in that last round, for example, they had the lockdown. They were happy to go in for that 3v3 scenario. They used it to push everybody back and get that Hunter's Fury out. So just really, really good work coming out of them. And this is their map pick, that's the thing, right? So they picked it because they were confident on it. And the same, unfortunately, couldn't really be said for GE.
Yeah, they definitely did their homework on this map, right? And I just want to point out, Olulu, I believe, had 22 assists on this map. So it was definitely all of the teamwork that came in that we mentioned. We keep talking about that dash into the dark cover, right? There's just so much coordination that needs to happen for a move like that. We see it a lot of, for example, like Haven, right, dashing on over to B. But the hero KDA, we saw that happen over on to A, right? And I just feel like the way they're able to set up Snoke with these plays, it's not even flashy. It's not even something that's she's in your faces or anything. She just needs to be exactly where she needs to be. You know what I'm saying? It's it's so subtle and it's so clean, and it's just they don't need to, do anything extra just to get the plays that they need to for victory.
Yeah, it's just been fantastic synergy between Snow and the initiators on this team. We did talk about how they like to play that initiator heavy comp, and this is exactly why, because the setups are so perfect, the recons. And of course, I think one round that I'd love to highlight was in the second half when they were in a retake situation, just putting those ultimates together and utilizing them, like the null command along with the blaze storm, shutting down any flashes from GE on the side. Really, really good team coordination. I think that's what really stood out to me the most for this particular team. Absolute heroics coming out of them. And as for GE, you did see some good rounds coming out of them, some good individual plays. Like, for example, I think Kiri was an absolute demon with the Sheriff on this particular map. But overall, I just feel like number one, they didn't look super comfortable on this map.
Yeah.
They had a pretty rough first half, and on a map like Ascent, even with the changes that have come into different agents and to the map itself, it's always been very defender sided. So an 8-4 start on defense, it's not the greatest.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, for global esports, they didn't exactly get the momentum on their side maybe early enough. Perhaps that was a factor. But, I feel like on the side of the hero KDA, you did see that that more of that teamwork coming in for the side of global esports. We did have, you did mention, for example, Kiri. The sheriff plays were just stellar. I do remember that one round where she was just like pang pang and just got the double kill, and I thought that she was actually going to clutch the entire round. It certainly seemed like a possibility. I do have to point out as well, I believe Bela actually did quite well too, with a lot of plays, a lot of times where she looked like she was really the anchor for, or saving grace for, certain rounds. I do hope that Global Esports Phoenix can come back into our next map, but I feel like, with the synergy that the Hero KDA is showing us, it's gonna be tough.
I think the one
level low.
Long. 30 seconds left. One player still. Enemy kill.
Welcome back, everybody. We are right in the middle of our first series of the day. We saw map number 1 go over to the Hero KDA, and it's a question of whether Global Esports Phoenix can make that comeback as we head into our second map, Fracture. Now, Zach, this is their map pick, and they got a pretty good track record on Fracture as well.
Yeah, I think in this group stage they did super well. They managed to win very commanding victories, 13-3, 13-6, and one of these was against a team that personally I'm very sad that they didn't make it to playoffs this time around. Neons, who are from Thailand, I believe. So this is a map where they have a very perfect record. They beat Orangutan in the last open, and they've beaten some pretty good teams on this particular one. And I think that this is a map where they also have some synergy when it comes to strats. We didn't see that in that last open. And I think that the good thing for GE is that they don't really have to make many changes around comps because they already have something that works for them. And more than that, even their new player, Bela, number 1, she's popping off on that Killjoy. And number 2, she's filling the same role that their old player did pick. So I think that this is the map where, considering their track record and their strategies, they should be doing very well, at least on paper. But the momentum...
Yeah, exactly. So like you're saying, like Global Esports is like not that much adjustment, so they should be pretty comfortable on a Fracture. But you're talking about, the synergy, right? And when we looked at the Hero KDA over on Ascent, they were looking pretty good. I'm pretty sure that Global Esports Phoenix, they do have a plan as they step into Fracture, it being their map pick, of course. But I feel like also there's a question of now, Global Esports Phoenix, they don't seem to be very flexible around what they can play on Fracture. We see, on their stats, it's the same thing over and over again. And it's probably something that the Hero KDA have seen before. So it's a question of how well they can adapt, maybe, if they want to switch things around, or if they don't, how far can they push that to push the Hero KDA into some form of uncomfortability on that map.
Yeah, I feel like the Hero KDA, they've gone above and beyond whatever they've shown so far in the past. I think that they are looking extremely confident, number 1, starting the day off by itself. But after that very dominating win, for lack of a better phrase, on Ascent, they definitely have that momentum heading into this map number 2. And both these teams, they kind of run very similar comps around this. I think that for the Hero KDA, it's just a little bit of shuffling that goes around. They do like to flex around that duelist. The last time, like in that Swiss stage, for example, they brought up both the Rays as well as the Jets. So I think that Snow in particular has been definitely showing up on that Jet. We didn't get to see much of an operator play coming in from her, but I feel like that's just because there were so few rounds really left in the half that she didn't really need to set it up at all.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? She doesn't really need to pop off because like the rest of the team is also pulling their weight, and it's exactly what we saw on Ascent, right? It's like ideally all of the pieces are in place for Snow to be able to pop off. You have the support of the whole team. But she doesn't need to do that just yet, right? And maybe it's a card that they're keeping close to their chest at the moment because, of course, it is day 1 here at the Open 2, right? You don't want to exactly lay everything out on the table. For Global Esports, I do wonder how they can innovate here on Fracture, especially since, this is their map pick. They have had a perfect record on this map so far. They don't seem like they want to change anything else at the moment, especially since, like, they might be still working Bela in, but as you mentioned, she does seem to be filling that gap quite well. Again, going into team synergy here, especially on a map like Fracture, where you do need a lot of that. You do need a lot of those calls. You do need a lot of those, especially the mid-round calls, as you rotate over from the defensive side over to the attacking side. But I feel like the Hero KDA, they have that synergy and they have the momentum. So Global Esports Phoenix, what are you guys cooking?
I'm really glad you brought up that adaptation point because if you look at Ascent in particular, the Hero KDA, they have looked phenomenal over their mid-round adaptations. Even if they're a player down or something, they're able to kind of like flex around. They're able to regroup, head towards other parts of the map. And Global Esports, their reaction time, it seems to be very slow compared to it. But even if they have the player advantage, right? It just seems like the Hero KDA, they're able to like just set themselves up in a way that they trade out much more favorably. Global Esports, in a lot of cases, even when they do have like a numbers advantage, like a 2v1 scenario, they're letting those isolated fights go into play, and you really don't want to give 1v1s to the kind of aim that the Hero KDA have been showing up today. And looking at the team comps, it does seem to be a mirror on both of the sides with the exception of that duelist pick. And like you mentioned, Mika, there's not much that's been changing in the comps for Global Esports Phoenix here. They have gone with what has historically worked for them, what they're confident with. The question is, will that be enough? Because number 1, of course, there's the potential for that anti-stratting to take place. And number 2, the Hero KDA, similar comp. It could go either way, but I think that we've blathered on long enough. We're going to be heading into the actual game right now. Quack and Tash, you have it.
I have it. She said we have it, so I grabbed it and now it's in my.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, whoops.
Thank you very much, Mika and Zach, for that. That's a good that's a good take, by the way, by a Quack. I've never seen such a great catch. Who knows, you might be having a future in basketball. But whatever it is, we're moving into Fracture, nothing to do with basketball. But this is a very momentum-heavy map because if you look at it this way, the team that knows how to chain as many rounds in a row will be taking it forward. Now, coming into this map, from what I've seen from both teams, in this Swiss round in particular, both teams do really well on this particular map. Now, Quack, my question for you is, the changes in the agents here for the duelists. You have Jet versus Arrays. What's your take?
I think it's really just both teams kind of playing to their comfort picks, because as long as you're comfortable on it and you keep making it happen, that's where you get to play your best, right? A lot of this game, a lot of things in life really is mental. You need to put yourself in a mental state where you are the most comfortable or you're feeling most yourself in order to perform. And we see how comfortable Snow is on a Jet, just because Rays might be so-called meta.
Okay, it's not
doesn't mean that you have to play that way. At the same time, for
so Bridge, you stand the whole line
this
from
is
it.
what
You can just
Meow 16K is strongest on. She's
Yeah.
able to play off of this. She's able to play with her teammates on this, and they've done this 8 times officially throughout Game Changers APAC. So I think this is something that GEX are really good at, and I'm expecting a lot of things from them.
I think for me personally, I like going for Arrays on this map because there are so many angles to clear. You take up so much space so very quickly, and I would say the AoE that comes in from a showstopper, that comes in from the pin shells, can clear out a lot for your team, or even takes away space from the enemies. But I think this comes also from, I would say, the flex situation that GE Phoenix has. Well, they don't necessarily have a 6 player, but each player is some sort of a flex where they can take a step back and play initiator, or they can take a step forward and play duelist. And that's the beauty of what exactly they have in their synergy, as opposed to Hero KDA. They're very like, this player will be either the initiator or the smoker, but nothing more than that. So this is why we're seeing a lot more, I would say, a rigid sort of like agent pick for Snowkey herself. But at the same time, I would really like to think that, maybe Snowkey is just so good at Jet, she can play wonders on this map in particular. But, after seeing so many games in so many different regions, I still think that on this map in particular, I prefer to see the Rays.
Could be, right? I mean, yeah, you would still prefer that, but then again, some other teams sometimes with like T1 from VCT Pacific, for example, making a lot of those references, they run a double duelist. They have both Jet and the Rays just because sometimes you're more comfortable with that. So it could go either way, I guess it all depends on how they actually perform once we get into the game. But if you're talking about just how they perform thus far before, just to go back to it again, because we didn't really mention it in the first map, this is actually the first time that the Hero KDA are playing against Global Esports Phoenix officially. I'm probably sure that they scrim together against each other all the time, but this is the first time they're going head to head. And on this map Fracture, something that they never really do that much, Global Esports Phoenix having played this map 8 times and having 100% win rate compared to the Hero KDA's 5 times and a 60% win rate. I would say that's vastly different, right? And if you're looking at Snowkey's performance, yeah, she has top frag before, but most times she's it's kind of that standard thing. Duelist, you go in, you get opening picks, you break open the sides for your team. Meanwhile, it's slightly different for Global Esports Phoenix. It's a much more coordinated effort, and it's kind of, I have to assume it's what you're talking about, Tash, because of that AoE from her explosive utilities. You got the paint shells, you got the showstopper. What can those do? So much in a lot of these sites. You can stop plants from happening, you can come in with retakes and take space with them. there is a bit more potential for GEX on this map, and I have to believe that this is precisely the reason why that they picked it.
Either way, I mean, like, I think there's a lot of conversation happening around comfort pick and meta pick. And why something is meta is because it works so well that map. And in this situation, you have Meow 16K with her paint shells and her satchels coming forward. Not only does she take up a lot of space, but she's also, I think the way they use satchels have really changed over the years of Valorant. I mean, previously before it was only used to satchel into the site, but now we're seeing people push agents away. We're seeing it stop defuses. We're seeing it for a displacement. So thinking about how she can actually move around on this map is very, very scary. But at the same time, Snowkey as a Jet, she doesn't have that ability to be able to not only just, I mean, she can just go in for dash, right? But you need to get those 2 picks in order to get the dash again. So it's not as, I would say, as movement god-y. I don't know how to say it. It doesn't really allow a lot of it doesn't really know how to reposition as quickly as Meow 16K does. But we'll have to see how it goes, because at the end of the day, it comes down to how the players will be using the agents, and now map 2 has begun.
We'll see whether or not Snow can be that movement god, but at least for now, they are set up to kind of just play backwards positions on the sites. If they find contact, they'll maybe fall back and set up for retakes, because so far that is what we've seen from THK. That is what they're good at, and what they need in order to make this happen is to get information. GE are trying to go as slow as possible to surprise them, make sure that they don't react to information that easily.
Look at how they've positioned themselves. THK, I mean. Hold that thought. Flash comes forward. Hannah. You can see the quick rotations coming in from THK, and Meow 16K quickly satchels straight into tower, clears it out, full control of the area. As the other members still try to get onto the side here, Snowkey unfortunately comes forward, walks straight into Rose's crosshair, make that 2, RKNY and Ashley get 1 each. But the paint shells, just as I mentioned before, clears her out, and Kiri inside of tower, no one noticed her there. She gets 1 pick, Hannah is all alone. Unfortunately, nearly takes her down, but only 20 HP to spare. That's very heartbreaking to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is precisely what you're talking about, Tash. It's it looked good for a second, but then the post-mortem kill. You know, Meow 16K actually got fragged out already, but because she threw the paint shells at the last second, RKNY couldn't really back up far enough. If she did, you know, past tree, she would have gotten shot out by someone else from GX. So this is the strength of having that raise, and this is why we see a lot of these picks more often now. And with these wins, this is going to be GX buying up. It's going to be THK on the pistols, and they're trying to take things into their own hands, pushing all the way past bench.
Here. Here the orbs coming through, and the turret gets destroyed with all the information they need. Hannah spots 1 person. Quickly start pushing past the paint shells, and they didn't realize that Hannah has done that very bold move. Here's my Rose, immediately Meow 16K clearing all the way into CT. RKNY unfortunately whiffs. She has to move backwards, wait for her teammates as the other 3 coming in from drop. A very narrow area, but thankfully they do go in for the trade. Meow 16K does get 1, but Bayla will find 1 more.
Last player standing.
Moving forward,
1 enemy remaining.
And what a
Spike
great
down
situation for THK. They were at a gun deficit situation, and now it's a 1v1. Bayla battles the specters. She hears the turret, but no clue where exactly she turns in the ability. Oh man, that's timing. Honestly, timing is everyone's worst enemy.
Never count out the end.
Yeah, a little bit of timing, but also just so smart. I mean, you were talking about movement god, but this is just Iceland actually cognizant enough that she moves past the turret right before it sets up. That Killjoy, Bayla had no idea that she was that close, and a round that should have been GEX's went over to THK.
I mean, when you talk about movement as well, you saw how Hannah just pushed forward, right? The paint shells came forward, and both Hannah and Snowkey just pushed out. And it was to the point that GE thought, okay, the paint shells found us time, gave us a little bit more space to work with, and they lost 1 in that process.
That's something that really hurts GX still. A lot of these tiny fights, tiny moments, and it hurts them in the long run. Now they only have pistols. THK buying up rifles. They're looking to play defensively to hold on to these. Can the Sheriff really find those heads? Right now, it's just information for THK.
Buy some time. As well as the knife as well. Just gives them all the information. Hannah, unfortunately, what?
Smoke's down.
She was able to just get a headshot to Hannah. They do pick up the gun at the very least. Kiri playing inside of the smoke. As Snooki comes in from arcade. Doesn't caught the other one playing behind box. It's so very hard to push in. She does get one, but look at this Snooki holding in as Olulu is there to back her out. Forced onto the classic. Snooki will be able to find Bela at the end. Trying to go for those headshots, not happening. Only losing one in the process. And THK, since they're having 2 rounds in a row here, I have a feeling momentum will be heavily on their side, at least for a few more rounds.
Very much so. I mean, it's a nice attempt. At the very least, GX did manage to get the plant. But the main thing is how THK played defensively, how they played together as a team, going in with a retake. They managed to sustain minimal damage, only losing 1 player in the process, and that's why they can buy back up again. However, this time, it's going to be GX with a full buys. We are going to have Rose with a Rolling Thunder. This could be something that they can use to get the site more effectively, more cleanly. If they can't do that, though, then THK getting the momentum, that's something that won't be good for GX.
How aggressive she's going as Snooki pushes out 5 now, and this time around, they're playing a little more aggressive. She gets one more in the back. Playing with her teammates
One enemy
gives them a lot of space to work with. They understand that even though they are on this level advantage in terms of guns, that if they push out, they catch them off guard. They read it so perfectly.
Yeah, never mind the Rolling Thunder from Rose. If we just have Snow going up front, taking a little bit of an angle, you get information, but also that fault line coming in from Olulu, the flash point to assist, she dashes up front, and it's just lights out for GEX. They couldn't respond to that whatsoever. At that final moment, maybe Bela tries to peek out a tunnel, but that's the best that she can hope for. This is now momentum to THK's side. Also confidence, because they're starting to find a lot more of these duels and linear angles, Tash. This is painful.
It really is. I remember last year that SMG was the team that loves playing aggressive on this map on defense. I'm starting to see a lot more other teams play as aggressively as well across all regions. And it makes it so fun to watch. But look at where GE is now. All the way on A lane, just waiting for the right time to push through. But they're all playing inside of drop, not the best place to be. It is a chokehold, but they do have full control of the area. The turret does give away the angles and positioning, and Meow 16k, thankfully, does not get tripped at all by the nanoswarms. Now she pushes out here toward B, toward A main, and you can hear not only is the point zero used, but also the
One
right.
enemy remaining.
Snooki get 3 already, a beautiful spray to come through, as Byla is only good for 1, and another round where they only lose 1 in the process.
Again, I mean, this is exactly what we saw in round 3. You know, GX, despite having pistols, they go in aggressively, they take space, they get the spike planted because they know how far back the hero KDA will be playing. At the same time, because they're playing far back, they are able to play together as a squad to come in with a clean retake. Minimal damage. I keep emphasizing that. They are able to buy up so much, and look at how much they have now, Tash. 7,000 almost across the entire board, maybe RKNY down to 4,500. But that's how much they can keep on buying up for the next several rounds. This is what it means to have momentum. This is what it means to be able to read those strats and play off of them. GEX now has to call the timeout to find a way to turn the tables around, because if they don't, even with the ultimates and the full buys that they have this round, this game could be lost. 4-1 is really, really strong for the hero KDA to start with.
And on top of that, I mean, it was to the point that the hero KDA's read was so good, it disabled Rose from even being able to use her Rolling Thunder. And I think because they weren't even able to get close enough to the site, first round they got caught in arcade, the second round they got choked all the way in drop. They need to find a different way to enter the site, whether it be, going from picks first or coming in from two different angles. But in this situation, I think for THK, they've really solidified how they decide to hold on to the site. You see how when Snowkey pushes out, it's always with Olulu, or when RKNY is helping her teammates, is always ready for the swing in order to trade. And this time around, it's still happening with 3 members from THK pushing out from main, finding Baila. And that is nasty. Rolling Thunder finally deployed, and you also hear now 16K popping that showstopper. What will it actually stop anyone is the question. She's walking. It's taking so much time. She goes out. She does find Snooki at the end of the day, and the nade as well to just buy some time. And no worries at all for THK. They just ran out from sand, and now 16K. She's taking a lot of damage walking on top of the fire, but they didn't realize she's inside of the smoke. She has 3 already. Ashlyn playing close does find Meow 16K in the end, and now it's all down to her and 36 HP. She does spot out 1, but she has to wait for the utility to go away. Perhaps she can come in from sand, and that's exactly what she's going to do. But they are ready. They concuss her and they immediately swing out, and they finally get the round.
Well played by GX this time. Off the timeout, they turn things around. Yes, the Rolling Thunder from Rose might not really have hit anyone, but it does clear out the site. It does mean that THK will be forced to play up around King Main, maybe defender spawn at most, but this gives now 16K the space to push up from the showstopper. Taking off Snowkey first gives her a bit more time to set up, and she is able to hide inside of that sky smoke, where she finds the initiative to get a couple more frags. This duel between both duelists is now really exciting, and I'm excited to see how G answers back. They're starting things in towards Tree.
They take the time this time. They're playing a little bit more back, and they're understanding that for THK, they love to play aggressive. Look how far out they've pushed for the 3 members, and it's always been this way. A very proactive move, but at the same time, it also gives up space for them on the side itself. Immediately, Rose finds Olulu. She gets 2, in fact, finds Hannah. They have full control of Underpass. And now, with Bela's ultimate, they can go for the ultimate from Underpass, holding out the full area of sight. And with Snowkey only having the op, it's going to be so hard to push.
Well, there's the chance to set that up, but maybe they don't even want to do it, considering that they have numbers advantage. Snow is the only one here. The rest of them up by Generator, but not quite having the angles. If G has the discipline to really hold, this could be good for them. Now just trying to play off of contact, though, a little bit of a peek, and it pushes Snow back. G has their post-plant position set up.
Yeah, and Rose already finds Snowkey as well. Unfortunately, Meow 16K pushed out of her situation inside the tower. RKNY on the site with her teammates. She wants to go for a trade at the very least, but it's really hard. They are playing for post-plant here. You can see the ball
enemy
Meow 16K
remaining.
finds Ashlyn. Still 1 more for RKNY. She's so very low. RKNY for 2, but the round will be won by GE.
Wow, this is just great plays from GE, Tash.
He really
I
is.
mean, look at how they make their way in, and at the same time, it's punishing the confidence from THK. These girls are trying to peek out, trying to gain active map control, but they're discouraged from doing so because of the default hold of lead from GX just to hold that angle up around the tunnel. So to answer back, to try to hold on to that momentum that THK has, they're going to call a timeout of their own, Tash.
Yeah, they have to. They have to figure out what exactly went wrong. And I think what went wrong here is just GE figuring out how they played. How many times already have they pushed out from B main? That's exactly what they did again. And this time around, to counter that, they came in from the other side of the map. And after they were able to do that, they came in a lot slower as well. They found them in Underpass, and immediately everything fell apart. And it was the same 3 members from the Hero KDA that was caught out early, which is Olulu, Hannah, and Snowkey. The 2 members that were really, I would say, enabling Snowkey to be able to take up space and go for those early picks.
And they know that she keeps going for those, so now the question is, will Snowkey continue to do that, or You know, will she try something different? So far, she's been one of the star players for the team. You know, 13 frags, yes, set up by her team, but she's the one to execute it all the way through. Meanwhile, for GEX, Meow has been disabling her. Meow has been disabling the entire team. Can they keep up this momentum and wrangle the rounds back away from THK?
We also gotta commend Meow 16K because despite the fact that A main earlier was Molly, she still stepped on it to play a little bit more aggressive. She understands her limits and boundaries. And this time around, GE, full control of Underpass, drops down that lockdown. And now...
What you were talking about? Arcane has her own lockdown as well, though, but she's all the way on the other side of the map. So maybe, instead, what THK is going to do is just give them the site and then come in with a retake setup.
They can do that. And they go for those points. Lulu comes in with a nice tap into the smoke with her Phantom, finds Meow. So at least that's one heavy hitter out of the way. Regardless, Muffin Loop, still a heavy hitter of her own. Can play a little bit more aggressive. She thinks it's a very tight corner, but Snowkey has advantage the way she swung out. Running onto the site here to clear it out. Look at how many utilities have been used. She wants to push out from A main. Bela is all alone. They out one of her needs. Bela does find one. They have to push together, but it doesn't happen. She goes for two. And here comes the orbital strike as well to buy some time. And look at how much control they have on the site because of the amount of utility they have. Arkanoi only good for one, but I don't think she's good for more. Rushing out, eventually is gonna go for an exit frag, but that's all that she can do.
A really strong and clear game plan from GX nets them yet another round win. 3 in a row now, Tash, and they tied it up 4-4. This can continue going their way, and remember, this was a round after THK called a timeout. So they have to find a different way to approach these rounds. You can see that GX's game plan is how they want to take the site and then set up for those post-plant lineups. They've got the Aftershock, they've got the Incendiary Grenade from Kiri, they've got the Orbital Strike. THK cannot let them get the spike planted, but at the same time, if they continue to peek out so blindly, they're going to get punished. So how can THK actually turn things around? They're trying to take A main control this time.
Yeah, and I really hope they don't push out. That's the problem. They do lose one in the process, but will it be a trade out? Not quite gonna happen. Bela has been really good for those multi-frags. I am so nervous of her rushing up this rope. Ooh, gets away with only 42 HP left. And quickly they run onto the side. You can see the Rolling Thunder comes through. It displaces THK. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Because they gave up so much space, they were able to answer back. Rolling, playing so aggressively, and with that frag they do try to use a knife on them, but they just move away. Now 16K waiting already for Ashley. Finds her, just waiting for this jiggle peak to come through. Snowkey is slow and low. They have, and just like that, they go down. Null command coming through. Arkan White trying to salvage the situation. She's the final man left alive, and with them holding down it's really hard for them to go for that revive.
Way too difficult. GX continue on their rampage, picking up the 4th win in a row. A way to come back against THK's second round win. You know, the one where they kind of won off of just pistols.
Yeah.
It completely turns the momentum around. And now G stands a chance at taking this entire first half away. They still have their ultimates on a cycle. You know, just around before we saw an orbital strike. But now, because of so many frags getting taken up, Meow 16K has another showstopper. Muffin Loop has her null command. THK really has to play defensively. The retakes aren't that good anymore either. So how can they come back? It's really difficult.
See how it's actually playing with Snowkey this time around, playing side by side itself, but because they are playing so aggressively, Kiri immediately takes Snowkey up. Look at how many utilities have been used just to take her away. The now Swarm has been thrown out here, and Hannah waiting for the right time to throw her flash. One flash out, here comes the other one trying to set it up for her teammates. Not what's happening, but yeah, here we go. Ashley finds something that's huge, just Hannah just straight up walks onto the Nano Swarm. They do manage to get the site, they go 10 tap it. The Rose playing from inside of tower, they flash out, not able to get a pick, but Ashley finds Kiri all the way in main with her orbital strike. They're not playing alone, they do get a defuse. And this is a great 8-round take away, and we bring it back to a 5-5. It's so very competitive between these two because it's not really like 1 round win, 1 round loss, but rather 5 and then change back. Tug of war, if you may.
Definitely, you know, pushing and pulling both sides. But it's in these little tugs that you get to see signs of greatness from both sides, and maybe a little bit more from THK. You know, it almost looked like they had everything gone for a second, even losing players at the start with Snow kind of dashing onto site, but then the retake comes in really cleanly. Now off to the next, and that's going to be them just playing off of information and falling back. Everyone's rotating over to the A side. You might have Bail outside tree, so she can perhaps cut noise and rotate over back to the B site, or just explode onto A and maybe try to displace some of these members from THK on the side itself.
Regardless, cut the noise and they have no clue where exactly GE is going. And I think by cutting the noise, they're hoping that Snowkey will be pushing out again and punishing her. But this time around, I think since the last round, Snowkey has been playing inside of the site and it's been looking a lot more clean for all fronts. Snowkey pushing out. I think she's just trying to go for a peek here, realizing that no one is on B, so they can go for a pinch if they want to. You can see Meow 16k, she does pop her ultimate. No one is on the site itself. She's of course just used it so very early. And Bela, you can see how she's just slowly lurking toward B, maybe see if anyone is trying to go for the lurks or the flags or the rotations rather. She does find Ashlyn. I'm not sure if she spotted the other one. I think she did.
You are
Yes, she did.
As well. As she comes in, Snowkey is looking for one more. Her team has been doing such a great job to distract them, allowing them to frag out. Bela finds Snowkey, another round to 1v2. RKNY can't do much here. Round win by GE.
Last round
6-5,
before the switch.
It almost feels like they're just hanging on. You would expect them to have a much more decisive lead in the first half, considering that this is their map pick. But what's good is that they are finding these rounds. They are starting to, you know, collect together a little bit more. Maybe if they can keep this up, then it'll be better in the second half as well. But right now, lockdown in Bela's hands, a smart way to position herself as she rotates back around through the attacker spawn. THK still trying to find different ways to take active map control. It's both teams at each other's throats and they are going for it.
Where Snowkey and
You should
Olulu
run.
are all the way up from Dish to the other side of the map. But they do have the lockdown, at least from GE.
Bomb grenade out.
And
Alarm bot down.
THK has to respect this space. You see how many utilities are thrown out. And unfortunately, RKNY does get detained. Now 16k is still holding. They're taking their time with how approaches. They spot out Hannah, takes her out. They know there's still one more coming in from Arcade, and immediately you can see the answer, the response, the smokes come through, the rolling thunder as well. As RKNY finds one.
Enemy down.
Ashlyn finds one more as she's dropping the utility. Unfortunately, Ashlyn whips it. Not the best situation to be in. Rose answers back. She
remaining.
puts in the rolling thunder, but Snooki is there at least to answer as now 16k salvages it. This allows the defuse, but Snooki is there for the trade.
And then the defuse counts in, Tash.
Yes, I forgot that. Sorry.
I mean, it is really smart from THK. Yeah, you know, it actually was for a second disallowing the defuse,
Switching
but
sides.
then afterwards, you have THK coming in with the smart retake setup. They know that GE's game plan is to just go for the post-plant line. You see how all these players are set up. And that's why they flank in from behind. It's so smart, it's so good, and now we're at halftime.
Honestly, I think that both teams are doing very well on this map. But you are right. I was expecting a bigger lead coming in from GE. Regardless, I think that Mika and Zach probably has more to say about this. So I'm going to throw it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much once again, Tash and Quack. Really, really exciting, very back and forth first half that we just saw coming out of both of these teams. That for GE, 6-6, it's definitely better than what they had on that last map. I think that in particular, Byla has been phenomenal. Some of these lurks and the timings that she's been able to find round after round, it's just been so crucial for GE to really come back swinging into this particular map.
I'm actually surprised at how Bela can manage to get away with all of that. You know, I mean, it's happened so many rounds, it's happened so many times, and I just wonder, you know, the Hero KDA, I feel feel like they should have caught on to it by now. That said, though, this isn't that bad for the Hero KDA because the score is 6-6 on a map pick that is GE's, right? We did mention, I believe it was Quack that pointed it out, I did expect them to have, a bit more of a lead. So for me, this is quite unexpected. That said, though, they have some excellent post-plant setups. And as you mentioned, Byla has been doing excellently, especially on a map like Fracture, where it's so easy to rotate, it's so easy to lurk, and it's so fun to lurk, especially. But yeah, where is that lead that we were expecting from GE on their map pick?
I think that the Hero KDA have one word to say no lead for you, which is Snowkey, because I think she's 18-8 right now after that first half, exactly what you want to see out of your duelist coming in. She's having an absolute game, and of course, I think that one more thing that the Hero KDA have been doing really well, especially in those last couple of rounds in that half, was adaptation, right? You saw them set up for those retake plays instead. They realized that GE, I believe our casters did point out, were going for kind of these post-plant setups, so they set themselves up to be able to retake, find those kills, and deny that post-plant utility from really kicking in. And I think that was the kind of adaptation that they really needed to bring it to a 6-6 score instead of like a 7-5 or 8-4.
And speaking of adaptation, I'm hoping to see a lot more of that on the side of global esports, right? We did see that, we did mention as well, before this map that it was going to be the big question for them. So as the half switches around, we're going to see how they can come back and maybe turn things around.
Turning things around. I too am very curious about this because the first half was a big tug of war between these two teams. It was like 5 rounds in a row in THK's hands, and then GE takes another 5, and then it was a back and forth. Now at round number 13. Now my curiosity is more toward GE because in terms of defense, I personally prefer Erase because of her AOE.
Yeah, I entirely agree, Tash. I mean, okay, this is something that I'm seeing based off their statistics on GX's side. They tend to win a lot more in defense because of this composition that they have. Kind of like what you're talking about. They're able to displace those spike plants. They're able to come with retake setups. It's much more effective, but let's see if they can actually make it happen against this team. THK now making their way into sight. You have a bit of a slip, you have a lurk from RKM1.
Look at how aggressively they're playing. It's trades from both teams. Your mouse 16K does find RKNY. Now, without the Sentinel, it's going to be a little bit hard to watch out for these lurks. Snowkey coming in forward, wants to push up. They want to take control of this area. Spawns that one, gets flashed out, and here he goes in for the sprays. But Snowkey, with that frenzy, does a little bit more damage with her run and gun. Hannah, she can buy some time and space with her fragment. You can see that Meow 60K just holding on to the very corner, just surviving that area. Here's this knife, comes through, timing, not in her hand. Meow 60K for one more before Ashley stops her. But look at the full control that GE has coming in from 2 areas, and they take this pistol round.
And that's the kind of teamwork and coordination that we want to see from GX. Off a retake setup as well. The way that kind of Meow was hiding up by the edge of the sky smoke, her teammate coming in right behind her, and then just pushing out all of a sudden. At the same time, Muffin all the way through defender spawn. Something that final nail in the coffin that THK didn't quite expect. Rose, excuse me. And that's kind of the thing that you need to see more of from GX. This first pistol win is great. Let's see if they can do it a little bit more. They've got the Spectres now, and Meow 16K is 4 points away from a showstopper.
This time around, look at how many utilities have been put onto the site by Byla. So that means every single angle they come through, they will be spotted out. Her teammate is there to answer back, but with Byla holding down, I think she's already been relaying to her teammates that she does hear shots come up, but no rotations quite yet because the positioning for GE here is a little bit more aggressive on A site.
Yeah, just a little bit. Hannah is the one kind of lurking this time if she hears like the door open or anything, if anyone pushes out. But if you look at the mini-map, Tash, THK are going on a little journey of their own, they're packing their bags or setting up sleeping bags.
Around the world in 80 days.
Getting a campfire going, yeah. Hot air balloon, all the way to the A site.
Yeah, and they're really, honestly, I mean, this is what they do, right? They like to do these things where they kind of like go to one side, make some noise, go the other way. But I think for Hannah coming onto the side, Mafia has not moved at all. Thankfully, Mafia moves out of the way. The Spectre does its work as she swings out of door, and that's exactly how I want to see players
30
play
seconds
inside the area. Loki does the
One
tag,
enemy
not only by the util, but also by the
Spike
other
down
members.
A.
There, Kiri with 3 in the pocket, RK and Y, just with the classic. At least gets one more, but she can't do any more than that because Bela will be the one to find her last. And it's 2 rounds in a row gone. We're going to the bonus for THK.
Yeah, much more control for GX this time around. They have the gun, so they're just going to be holding safe. But keep in mind, that was a bit of a, a buy from GX. They're going to have to buy up a little bit less now because they've lost 2 players in that process. Kiri back up on a okay, I don't know. She's kind of like making up her mind right now.
She said,
All right,
you know what?
so we're gonna
Let's
make it a
do in
hat.
between. Let's
Yeah,
do between.
we need enough to buy rifles on the next round. Meanwhile, it's for THK this time. If they can find this will be huge.
Yep, and that's Loki just running up forward, gets tagged, but Kiri and Aisling takes 1 each. I would say that's a very aggressive round for GE, but THK getting a little bit of an advantage coming forward. But look, from the other side, understanding that Hannah is quite low, takes her down as Aisling finds the other way. And then, oh no, not the rope! Seeing a lot of Boom Esports moments just flash by my eyes, but luckily it's not the whole team coming forward. There's Noki and RKNY, 2 versus 2 for both teams here. And we're seeing it's gonna be an A push.
You're giving me PTSD, Dash. Yeah, I'm seeing Crashy's smile in my head right now, and it doesn't feel good. But you know what? THK is gonna save us for a second because they get the spike planted, and they're gonna push up and set up their post-plant defenses. It's gonna be GE actually making the long way around through the attacker spawn into A main, and RKNY is set up perfectly for this. If they make a play through the door, she can, maybe wallbang him. At the same time, Snow calls out defenders for an entirely clear, so they know where these guys are headed from, but Muffin, wow.
That was a very aggressive
1 enemy remaining.
off guard. He'll be done. Snowkey tried to stop him, but Rose was there at the very least to stop it from happening. They have time. No, oh my god, they get it! What?
Took a little bit too much time to rotate over.
Damn, that was the same way I feel when I play my ranked games. I'm like, oh, we have so much time. I guess not.
1 enemy remaining.
Regardless, I think
1
that
enemy remaining.
that aggressive push out was perfect because she knew that someone's gonna be holding down by Sans.
Yeah, it's a great push, get the perfect headshot onto RKNY, but at the same time, just for Snow to actually go in to take that initiative, that duel against them, but enough time, just by 1 sliver of a second. I don't think THK expected that, but it happened, perfectly for them. They did lose a lot of players though, so it's gonna be tough to buy up for this round. Meanwhile, G has everything going for them. Null Command, Orbital Strike, they're holding the angles.
So they wanted Snowkey to go for that for the orb, because she's just 1 away from those blades. And that's the power of the paint shells. It disallows them to take up that space, and now they have to respect it. They have to give that up. They reposition themselves, both of them just backing up. They're not going to be fighting out for their area. But we all know that to an A main, to a B main, there are 4 orbs, and you want to see more aggressive control from getting that, and that's exactly what they're going to do. She's going to take this orb here. Now she has the blades, so she can supplement herself with the classic. She's trying to go forward. 87 to the left, she comes out forward. Unfortunately, with that, Bela finds her as she moves into the side. Kiri as well finds Hannah moving in with the Roomba, and that is nasty. Right now here, she already has 3 in the pocket. Nasty. Down. She saves. Goes down. But look at these trades coming through from both teams, and this is a very clean round from GE. And Bela was just holding alone.
Anyone have any splints? I may have jammed my fingers.
Very nasty hold, Tash. I mean, they had the right reads. This is THK's attacking side, and they don't leave much up to the imagination. The way that they approach, you see it on the map. They move together as well. They're trying to explode onto the site by themselves. You might have Snow dashing up, but as soon as that first point of contact goes off, that's all the information that GE needs. And at that point, all they have to do is to just hold, maybe get a couple of sprays, and it works out perfect. Off to the save now for THK, and there's that information again.
This time around, they're okay with letting them farm those orbs, but now they have to give up. They have to move away. I think they try to come in from arcade. This is something they've done before. For GE, look at where they've positioned the utilities. If someone were to come in from arcade, will be spotted out by Bela's turret. And on A, everyone is holding one point of area on their own. It means it's going to be a fast rotate. They can quickly go for the flanks if they want to, or even catch them off guard. That's because of that. Immediately the turret pops out, and Kiri reacts as Hannah goes down.
And making their way up to the turret. They want to get a spike plant, but can they though? Bela's on site. She's got the entire thing under control. Perfectly anchored because of that utility that you pointed out, Tash. And it's just so tough for THK to even do anything in this round. You might have had Arcane White kind of lurking, but nobody's pushing out. And this is that discipline from GEX. Now they hold the angles and simple taps.
30 seconds
We have paint shells. We're gonna dish out damage.
Oh, just like that. Meow 16k 4-2. And it's almost like they're playing
One enemy
a
remaining.
game. They move them from one side as they rotate to the other into the jaws of Meow 16k. Muffin Loop finds one more, now it's down to Aisling. And I think for GE,
10
the
seconds
power
left.
spike comes from playing on this defensive side, because all they have to do is just wait and then push these players into themselves, into traps. Time running out, and I think Aisling just gonna save. Honestly,
Well,
do you
that means
really
you
want to
can't
save?
buy.
Yeah, that's why. Why do you want to save her? I mean, saving Sheriff isn't necessarily the best thing. I would have rather seen her play a little bit more aggressive, go for a pick as they come forward. That would have been the best.
30 seconds
Ready?
left.
I guess she took
One enemy remaining.
points over to GX.
Perhaps.
But then that means, yeah, she's going to have to do light armor and a bulldog because that's the best buy that she can afford. It's a little bit tough for the hero KDA because clearly their attacking setup is not working out. It's perfect map control for GX this time around. And yeah, precisely like you said, Tash, dang, the sheep herding thing, you know, it's just getting a bit of information, making a bit of presence known. THK kind of rotates to another part of the map, and then into that other part of the map is the lion's den, and that's where like you might have, I don't know, Meow 16k and her lion's jaw wide open, and she's just like, all right, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna bite you. Paint shells out, and she swings out, gets another couple of headshots, and it's 10-7 now, Tash. This is precisely what the statistics said in all of their past Fracture games. Their defensive setups are that strong.
Yeah, and I think it's just it's a lot more complicated when you think about it, because Snowkey is not even able to get onto the site. And I think, again, that's why I really emphasize on this race pick, because on attack and defense, Meow 16k has been able to get frags with not only her nades, it displaces all the enemies. At the same time, it allows her to swing out as well, just to really if they get tagged and she gets to swing out and just get a little bit of picks, just get a little bit of some taps and they go down. And GEX, very aggressive this time around, pushing out toward arcade, and suddenly THK is just forced to go across the rope and run toward B main.
Fully smoked. On your feet!
Well, might have been not the best round to do it. Also, Rolling Thunder that hit Snow. They managed to get the spike plant still,
Spike
but
planted.
this is now GE going for the full-on retake, and it's in positions where I think THK should expect. They even have an orbital strike, so hopefully they're safe enough.
There's one,
Can't
goes
use
down.
Right.
Thankfully, she is in her ultimate. So Snowkey tried to buy some time. She pops out the Nazano Swarm, but
for
look
hellfire.
at the orbital strike to answer the lockdown. It destroys it. Now quick reposition. Snowkey displaced thanks to the fault line. As Rose comes up, she wants to clear out Canteen if she wants to.
Whoa.
Here comes the party, she says, but as she tries to fight anyone, no way, yes, it does! And that's the beauty of this.
Enemy
Archie was
remaining.
holding up towards the tower.
Ace.
Aisling for one, and so does Olulu. So I think this is a much more cleaner round from them understanding how exactly to play around the ultimates, but everyone goes down.
I mean, in the last second, that's fine. Maybe they don't get their guns, but they get to buy back up again off the round win, right? Maybe just stop that momentum from GX from building up. It's just so funny to see, like, for a second, it's the showstopper, no, and
Right
then
there.
Snowkey gets a headshot, and it's yes, and then Oh no, again, because the showstopper takes her out, Tash. I can feel that from you.
I wish you could see my face. It was from smiling to despair, to smile to despair.
But yeah, the main thing is that it's such a smart way for THK to hold it post-plant. It was, in fact, kind of a slight misread from GE to suddenly decide to go for the attacker bridge side spawn pinch. They pushed out they pushed out of bench as well as dish, and nobody was there. So it just so happened that it became a free site for THK. At the same time, though, you know, they still have enough to buy back up, and that's why they can afford some of these rounds. Kiri still has the orbital strike, Muffin Loop still has an all command, and GEX has so many things still going right for them. In the meantime, the main story still is Meow 16K versus Snow, because these two girls are up with 20 frags.
Each. Yep, 21 and 20. But in this situation, it feels like for Snooki, she's been kind of stagnant for a while now, ever since she moved into, actually toward the end of the defense round, because she wasn't able to be able to get more picks. Now that they're on attack, it feels like she's a little bit more free to take up space and get those picks. I mean, it's still very hard. I think given the fact that it's such hard, I would say, utility coming in from GE Phoenix that stops her from getting on the site. But you know, she gets on the site, she takes up space, she gets one, she goes, okay, I've done my job. It's very different to the end of the team. But I think RK and Y has been a great, I would say, final defense rather for the hero KDA. But coming into this game, this technical pause, I don't know, Quack. I feel like, you know, we're hearing the other casters say that we're 2 for 2 right now for our technical pauses. I'm pretty sure it's not me. I'm pretty sure it's you.
Maybe I'm bringing over some curses from other places, but whatever it is, technical. Now that you mention it, the technical pause is like done, and we're back into the game. Again, yes, you're right. Snow hasn't really been able to, you know, make that much of an impact. Now on the attacking side, she has a little bit more space, but at the same time, she really needs to find a lot of these opening duels, these opening picks in order to open up sites for her team. And we know how GX sets up on the map now. We know that it's only Bela on the side itself. If her team can support her in taking this one player down, they'll be able to get this site repeatedly for free.
Yeah, and it's so much space as well because of how she had put up her utilities. And I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the site commits from THK is very different to GE. GE likes to come in from 2 different areas, either from arcade and main, or maybe they have full control of CT and into site. But for THK, they come in either for A main, B main, or dish. It's all 5 of them together.
That's exactly what they're doing again.
Flash comes out. Surprisingly, it's gonna be that's exactly what you're saying, Quack. The opening they wanted finds Bela, takes her down, and now it's such a free and open site. And this time around, because GE wasn't expecting that hit, the rotations are gonna take a little bit slower, and they have full control of the site and preparation to prepare for the post plant.
Oh wow, we're actually not using the lockdown. They are setting up those post-plant positions instead. Oh god!
You should run.
You're scared of, and here comes the lockdown. He's using it at the right time as Meow 16K walks up. Confidence play as she gets 2 already. Here comes the Grim ultimate to really clear out the area. No people out. 5 enemy remaining. Down, but GE, 2 of them take 2 of them back, and now it's down to RKY. The final defense. She gets 1. Can she stop the post plant? Yes, she does. She gets 1 more, but look at how many people were firing at her. That is honestly a nightmare.
Yeah, just throw bodies straight at your face, and you're like, I got 9 mags. I got 9 rounds left in my mag. Please leave me alone. And it just doesn't really work. Still, a little bit of a fumble, I would say, from THK. Unfortunately, turning around the wrong way. I'm not quite sure if she heard something, and that's why she turned around, but it worked out well for Meow 60K as the flank
1 enemy remaining
enabled EX to break over the site. Yes, the lockdown was placed, but maybe a little bit too late as well. And then the orbital strike just to counter it. You trade off the rounds, but EX comes out on top because they got the round win. They still have Rose on the Rolling Thunder. And this is now THK with only pistols.
Hoping for helpful on play by THK, but you can start feeling your confidence start to waver. But despite that displacement, Muffin Loop is undeterred at all. number 2 finally going down to Hannah. Rose uses her utility, moves out of the way, surviving that.
remaining.
And she gets 2 picks. What a sprint! Quick round, giving the match point already.
Classic, simple,
Match point.
easy.
We got them beat. Knock them out.
I don't know. It's like a grilled cheese sandwich.
I mean, it's very straight to the point.
Yeah, simple, right? And then you have everyone squash in the front. The cheese layers that are coming off A main, they kind of melt in the middle, and it gets
You're
all
hungry,
gooey
aren't
and
you?
warm and nice. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just saying, it is match point. And this is still a GEX with so many things going for them. They still have their round setups and that Rolling Thunder. THK need to find a different approach. And if they can't do it now, it's going to be too late.
How aggressive this time is. They change the pace and quickly they throw out all the utilities. Now 16K this time around will not be displaced by the cage shells. Snooki, even though she's about to get compressed, but look at Muffin Loop with that shorty. We all are so annoyed by Muffin Loop for one more. Playing a little bit close. Spray out by Ashley. Finds one more. Rosie from door. Undeterred at all, not moving. Hannah finds Kiri. Nice cross from Sans. And Hannah knows exactly where Rose is. Timing, perhaps? Not her side. She's looking out toward main. Look to your left, Hannah! It's so important! No, she's not. Her teammate is there at least to back her up. So they have 3 different angles covered.
She's playing the off angle up by defender spawn with the shorty.
Immediately finds
Last
Hannah.
player standing.
Layla gets traded out by Ashley. But
One enemy
to
standing.
isolate for 1, but not enough for 2. And they do take 1 more point, and we go another round.
Bomb grenade out.
Yeah, it's a blueprint of RKNY cleaning things up again. 9-12. 3 more rounds for THK to push us into overtime. It's not impossible. Now that they've robbed some of these rounds, some of these ultimates away from GEX, it's looking a little bit better. The way that they're just finding out now to break open these sites is pure, simple aggression, like you were talking about, Tash. Having that confidence to take the duels up by drop, up by dish. They managed to break open the sites and go even further a little bit. But now we're back to something that we saw at previous rounds. It's that full team push in towards the B site. Can they take down Bela again?
Snooki slowly making her way into the site. She already spots out that bot, but immediately gets moved away. Whiffs. Alarm bot triggered. You can immediately see the fault line come through. She has to wait, but she understands that the teammates do have the molly to just buy some time. Now Snooki, she immediately turns around. She understands that GE might go for that flank.
Possible flank, but the main objective of that play is to burn that utility from GX. Make them spend those sky smokes, spend those incendiaries so that they can't really defend or stall or retake with them any further. If they can take Meow, they can take the site.
Out of the way, she sprays out. Unfortunately, it lives, and that's the power of the pain shell. Snooki goes down. Not command to come through. I feel like Meow Snooki has been doing such a great timing with her utility.
30 seconds left.
One for Rose.
One enemy remaining.
Ashley got one up.
Defenders win.
Wasn't it? What a beautiful ending for the second map for GE. And we go to map number 3.
They just happened to line up for that, so that's now going to go to the decider where things are entirely tossed up because you're never quite sure what's going to happen next with these 2 teams. Fracture was picked by GX for this very reason, and we can see exactly why.
Regardless, we're going to go back to our panel. Zach and Mika, break it down for us, ladies.
Thank you very much to Tash and to Quack. And there you have it. It is a 1v1 right now, or 1-1 rather, is our map score. And we are going into our decider map. But I am amazed with GE right now. They definitely showed why it was their map pick. But I feel like this was a missed opportunity on the side of THK because there seemed to be a point in time, Zach, wherein they had a chance to actually turn it up and change things up a bit. But it feels like they kind of got caught up in their own style and was unable to innovate.
Yeah, I feel like they seem to really struggle when it came to really executing. A lot of these times, you also saw G pulling out that aggression. You saw that from Meow 16K in particular, just pushing out towards that drop area, being able to find a couple of frags almost every single time. And of course, the fact is that with Baila being such an effective anchor on that B side, they let the players on A play so much more aggressively, find so much more value, especially with their utility and their kills. And overall, I feel like the entire team just stepped a level up in that defense. Like, for example, Rose, she was a little bit underwhelming on that map number 1, but on this map, she looks so much more comfortable. She was able to really set up her teammate with those perfect concussions, and the post-point utility as well was fantastic on their attacking side. So overall, GE, they look so much more comfortable, but they also look to be in control, especially in that second half. I think they lost like, what, 3 rounds in total?
Yeah, somewhere around there. But yeah, I just feel like, you know, THK, I feel like could have closed this. I mean, there were moments where like they really could you know, have turned around and in their favor. But I feel like, you know, THK, it felt like they were in a comfort zone and weren't daring to push out of it. Especially since, like, for example, you know, we do see Snowkey definitely, like, you know, up there when it comes to, like, you know, performance of the duelist role. But Meow 16K was able to just like put a stopper to whatever shenanigans CHK were doing. And I do have to point out, like, that these two duelists are like, I feel like their playstyles are unexpected. You know, they're a bit more quiet, they're a bit more reserved when it comes to duelists. But if you spot them, if you manage to, like, you know, lose that hide and seek game that we have here in Valorant, you are definitely dead. And it just goes to show on the side of THA that, you know, if you're up against somebody like Meow 16K on a map like Fracture, and you know, again, that hide and seek battle, it's just gonna be so difficult.
Yeah, and there was positioning, like you mentioned, that hide and seek, just GE being able to take up so much of that map control. They were phenomenal on their defense, but more than that, I think that you really need to give credit to the initiators on this particular map for being able to set up the rest of the team, because so many rounds, like especially towards that end, I believe that you saw Snow having that Blade Storm, getting really ready to kind of like charge in onto that A side, and there was just this perfectly timed 0 point coming out of Muffin Loop. In fact, so many times Muffin Loop had the most impactful ultimates on that KO, being able to shut down that post plan, just making that retake so easy for GE. And of course, Rose, like we already talked about, her being able to set up Meow 16K and just being able to put out those flawless fault lines as well as those aftershocks, just really good work. And of course, the MVP, as expected, Meow 16K, a little bit of a quiet first half on that attack, but towards that second half, she really woke up. And I think overall, this is the kind of GE Phoenix that you really want to see, where the team has synergy, they're able to take that extensive map control, and they're just able to diversify how they play. You see aggression and pushing coming out in a couple of rounds. In another round, they're able to just kind of hold back, wait for you know, the side of Hero to fall into their claws, and it's just a much more adaptable, versatile G that you really need to see.
Yeah, definitely show that they came with a plan into this map, right? Exactly what we were looking for. Now, heading over to Haven, though, I wonder how this is gonna go down, especially since it seems like, you know, once put into their comfort zones, both teams have, like, no problem when it comes to teamwork and everything. We're gonna find that out once we step into Haven, but for now, we're gonna go into a quick break. We will be right back.
Headshot. One suppressed.
Last player standing. Thrifty. Stay down. Flawless. One enemy remaining.
Welcome back, everybody, to VCT Game Changers APAC Open 2, and the score is now 1-1 between the Hero KDA and Global Esports Phoenix. Mika and Zach once again here leading your panel desk, and as we head into our third map, Zach, we are heading into Haven, and I have to say this may favor Global Esports Phoenix given that they actually have a lot of experience on this map.
Yeah, they've had a pretty favorable run throughout this group stage. I think that they dropped it exactly once overall. I think that was in the game that they also lost to a team called Lo-Fi Ego, but aside from that, they've been pretty consistent. They've been running the same team comp, and like you mentioned, very, very experienced on this particular map. However, the same could also be said for the Hero KDA. They in fact had a very extended overtime victory on this particular one, 19-17. So they're not over getting a little bit scrappy on this particular map. And from my observations looking at the comps for both of these teams, it's a mirror comp. So at the end of the day, if they do end up picking the same comps that they've been running so far over the last few months, it's not going to come down to the agents themselves. It's going to come down to which team is able to pull out the better strats, the better aim. And at least after that fracture map, it does seem like GE, they finally found their footing. They have a little bit of momentum going in their favor.
Yeah, this is gonna be really dicey indeed as we step into Haven, right? As you mentioned, THK did have that extended overtime against, I believe it was like Team Savage in the Swiss stage, right? We did see Hannah pop off quite a lot in their last run in Haven, and I feel like here is where THK, if they really want to take this, could probably mix it up a bit. I don't know. I just have a thing where like teams are like, we're just willing to dare and stuff. I know it might not be in their nature, but I feel like if they want to take this against Global Phoenix known to just stay with the same thing over and over again. THK, if they introduce something that's a little unpredictable, then that might catch Global Phoenix off guard.
I think that one thing that I did notice in that last map was that Hannah looked a little bit uncomfortable on that initiator that she was playing on that KO role compared to how Muffin was kind of able to just flex into it. So I do think that because of the fact that the Hero KDA, they like to run that same breach Sova that they are more comfortable with. It might be a little bit easier for them on this particular map. Again, this map it's Haven. I feel like every single team competing is pretty familiar with it at the end of the day. So Global Esports Phoenix, the biggest change that we saw on Fracture compared to Ascent was that number one, they were more willing to fight for map control, and they were very successful in doing it. And number two, they were able to very effectively leverage utility for good trades on their side. So if they can continue doing that, it might be them taking the victory. But the Hero KDA, they showed all of those things on map number one themselves. And if it comes down to which team is in better shape, honestly, in my opinion, on this third map. It's a very gruesome rug battle. We've seen punches coming through on both of these sides. A couple of players waking up towards that end, especially on that map number 2. I think Rose came into her full potential. And if we can see that same kind of play coming out from the entire team on both of these sides, I think that we're going to be having a very close, very competitive game.
Yeah, I can't believe that there was that one round where Rose just had to stay in like one spot and just instantly got to 3K. I mean, like that was pretty awesome. But you mentioned, for example, that showdown between I believe it's Hannah and Muffin Loop, right, on the KO on the previous map. However, going here into Haven, we do see that Muffin, for example, may potentially switch on over to the duelist role. And last time they were on Haven, of course, Muffin did have quite a performance indeed. So I wonder if they're gonna go for that switch around. I wonder if Global Esports are then gonna turn the table on the Hero KDA, as I'm expecting them to do on the side of Global Esports. I mean, who's gonna do it first?
I completely agree with that. I think one factor that will play like a huge factor into Haven is that whether Muffin Loop can get that operator online on time, because on Ascent, even if they weren't able to win the rounds, we saw her being able to get those impactful fraps so many of the times, and even on the KO, right, you still saw her popping off with that operator. So if Muffin can get that operator into play early on, G might be able to do quite well on this defensive side. But the same, right? Snowkey as well. She was having a pop-off game on the Jet on that map, and even if the rest of the map didn't quite go in their favor, on the attacking side, she was able to put up quite a show, 18-8 in that first half. So I feel like it might be coming down to a battle of the Jets at the end of the day.
Oh, a mirror matchup indeed. So you know what? Muffin says, okay, Meow, you did great. I'm gonna take this from here on out. And then Yoshi's gonna say like, okay, it's alright, it's my turn. You did good. And I'm gonna go against Snowkey this time. So this is gonna be really exciting indeed, especially since, as we mentioned, Meow and Snowkey kind of had like similar playstyles wherein they were like, they weren't afraid to like hang back a bit. I wonder how Muffin is going to explode onto this map and into this matchup.
Yeah, I think that Muffin, she's been very, very impactful ever since she joined GE, but there's going to be a lot of weight on her shoulders. The winner, they get to go on through that upper bracket and face off against SMG. Yeah, very exciting game. But either way, I think that we've yapped on long enough. Let's take it to our wonderful casters, Tash and Quack.
Catching it back. Thank you very much. Sorry, Quack, it was all mine this time around. Thanks, Mika, as well as Zach, as we go. Oh, together? Okay. I'll give it to you. We can share. We can share. But we're coming back into the game. We're on map number 3 now. It's going to be Haven. And I'm really kind of stoked about this map, especially for GE. Because coming in from their Swiss rounds, they have played more rounds of this map compared to the hero KDA. Wow, what a long name. And I think what's really exciting to see is the fact that not only are they playing a lot of these maps, they have a 50-50 win rate on both attack and defense.
Yeah, it looks really even at times, but that's where things can also be just really thrown to the wind, because Valorant can be so unpredictable.
Yeah.
When you have the exact same agent composition, you know, the panelists were talking about it, it comes down to their individual plays, right? And that's where we start to see the differences between the players in both teams. It might be 50-50 on those previous games, but again, this is the first time these two have played together in an official setting. We never quite know, and it might come down to that Jet duel, but at the same time, the fact that it's a different Jet from Global Esports Phoenix is something that's like maybe a little bit confusing, because if you're thinking, you put yourself in the shoes from the hero KDA, right? You're expecting, okay, I know how Meow16K plays Duelist now. I know that she's gonna, you know, rely on her utility. She might hide inside smokes at times. Then all of a sudden you're switching it up to Muffin Loop again, and then you're like, how does she play Jet again? Is she gonna peek me, or is she gonna like hide and play safely? It's something that they have to consider going into this map.
And I think that's the beauty of having those flex roles. I mean, yeah, we've seen teams that have, I think, a 7-man lineup and they switch out different players for different maps, and it really puts them into a position where they're able to just really kind of like play to their strengths based on what they have to offer for those maps and the agent pool. But coming into this game, because of how flexible GE is, coming Muffin Loop going, stepping back, allowing Meow16K to play forward a little bit more aggressive, can really kind of put you in a tizzy. It's very different to what we expect from Snowkey, who what we've seen to see from, I think, from last season all the way to now, because the only thing that she's been really playing most has been Jet. And I know she's really good at the Jet, but at the same time, it gives her a lot of, I would say, that wriggle room that the team could have if she were able to play arrays. Now, regardless, coming into this game, I just really want to talk about some of the players coming through here. I mean, we all know that GE Phoenix, Bela coming to step into High-Phase shoes as a Sentinel, and she's been doing a really good job. Now put her head to head with a player who is practically brand new. I was kind of like looking around for RKNY, and I think she's a brand new player, new to the big stage, and I think she's keeping up with her teammates very well.
Yeah, possibly. And we saw so much of it before, right? They got their cams up, and RKNY is one of those players who, if she is the last one left alive, she has the potential to come in clutch. She has that potential to really clean up a lot of those final frags. We need to see her do more of that here, and at the same time, anchor down those sites, because that's what Haven is all about. You need so much map control because there are 3 spike sites. THK on the attack, they're looking to explore Garage. There's a Shorty on the other side, Tash.
Yeah, and that's nasty. And remember, Shorty hasn't been nerfed quite yet, so might as well play with it while we can. It will actually just spot her out with the Alpha. Look at how many people are holding onto this area. Snowkey and Ulu got 1 each. They will cross the path. They're already inside of Garage. Full control all to them, and it displaces Rose from window. They get the plant. Sorry, go ahead.
Whoa. I was wondering if THK were actually aware of the Shorty, and that's why they took that duel that way, but now the retake coming in, yeah.
And look at them coming in from grass. They're trying to find a way into site itself, trying to be very sneaky, but yeah, post-plat situations, look at that, they cross together. Meow16K down to only 10 HP left. Moving into the site, full control of Garage, but they have to still clear out this entire Haven. A crossfire trying to come through here. They do get one more, at least going to be Snooki, but time is ticking, running out. They displace them. Here comes the fault line. Olulu already for 2, and that's the power of having your breach alive till very end.
Yeah, Olulu, she's one of those players that has been waking up, kind of like what Zach was saying before. A lot of the initiators are what enables these duelists to come in for those final moments, and at the same time, the way that they disable a lot of those opposing players kind of gives them a lot of initiative to actually take those duels head on. I mean, I was kind of considering the fact that GX were already super low by this point, but you can see that team play from THK, and if they can continue off playing this way, GX might be in a world of hurt.
A world of hurt. I like that. I like that. Speaking of that, Snooki. Whoo! That just whips past her ear. Thankfully doesn't snag onto her. But in this situation, for GEX, only Muffin Loop has been forcing this round, trying to get that advantage onto A main. And because she wasn't able to land that first hit, she's forced to give that space away. But this time around, she comes back, going for that double dip, but her teammates are there. Ooh, timing. So it's very scary, and RKNY finds Rose. This is very, very quick reaction time for THK.
So quick, in fact, they've already made their way on towards the C site. Bela trying to hold it from Garage. It is a bit of a stun, but it's so far away. And all around RKNY. That's a free Spectre now.
Yep.
That they can use.
That's the best case scenario as Aisling comes up forward. They're gonna try to play a little bit more aggressive. Snooki, she is playing close, so if, say, her teammate isn't ready or to trade out, they're gonna go for the that's fine one. Muffin Loop trades. Exactly what I was thinking about when Aisling finds her in the end. They put the star down. They can go for the tap. That's exactly what's gonna happen. She's gonna be hiding behind the platform. It's gonna be very hard to counter this when so many angles is covered by GE. And that's really what I like, honestly. Look at them holding 3 different parts of the site.
It's perfect holds from THK, and then also if we could get like the replay on that, I just want to see again that perspective with I think it was Rose on the site trying to defuse or someone else, but Hannah just did the widest swing ever, and they couldn't really shoot at that point. Hannah was so far out that, you know, even with the classic or whatever gun, you're not quite able to land a shot, and that's just that micro play that THK is so capable of as well. It's a little bit unfortunate for GX, but here is their chance to come back into this game. They're one shot at going back up against Team SMG, possibly tomorrow. They have to do it right now. They already took down Fracture. Can they do it again on Haven?
Yeah, they want to. I think for GE Phoenix, if you remember their run last open, they came pretty close, and I believe they lost to Orangutan X. They also want to take them down, if I remember correctly. Regardless, I think a lot of eyes are on SMG, as you said before, given the fact that they do have a roster change. But for GEX, in this situation, these matches are coming very, very close to the Hero KDA. I mean, personally, when I first heard about the Hero KDA, I was like, what is this team? And as soon as I saw the player, or at least the lineup, I'm like, okay, I know these players. They have an idea.
With them.
Yeah, I hang out with them. I talk with them. I banter with them a lot. And, you know, I mean, it's always like, you know, how you talk about how a team or player plays is very, you know, similar to their attitude, their personalities. I think that for all of these players, it's been that, except for Aisling. Looking forward to getting to know her more, because honestly, even as it's her first debut on GC, she's doing so very well, and I definitely will keep an eye on her throughout the entire year.
Definitely. I mean, we're having these new names maybe show up to Game Changers, and again, it just shows how much room there is for everyone to grow in this scene, and that's one of the most important things for Game Changers as a whole, because you want more people coming in. With more people, you have more competition, and everyone grows together. And maybe one day, maybe we'll see SMG play in like VCT PH with their crazy 5 controller, 5 initiator comp, and maybe take down one of the boys teams, right?
Yeah.
Like, who cares about those boys? Like, Oasis Gaming now is esports. What? Nah, we want SMG with their crazy comps.
Real. Honestly, coming forward as well. I mean, if you look at, you know, all these, I would say these crazy comps coming through, it just really shows the creativity coming in from those teams. Because for a while now, it feels like for some maps, like say Ascent, it's always been like this particular setup or this particular agent lineup, and it feels so, what's the word? Very, very restricted by the meta. But you know, when you have teams like SMG, I think that when you want to play off meta, it requires a lot of, number one, understanding of the agent you're going to play, number two, confidence as well. Because you try to play with something new, you need to understand what you can bring to the team and how the team can play around you.
It's a very confident statement, in fact, to just be able to make a comp like that work as well. But, you know, like, that's one of those things that we haven't really seen so much in Game Changers, is that kind of innovative play. Right now, yeah, it might seem a little bit meta, and this is kind of what they're comfortable with, and we see how effective it is as well, right? With how Olulu comes in with those fault lines and flashes, and how she just kind of supports her team. Ashlyn kind of peeking off of her as well in that final moment from the previous round. It's that team play, and they're able to do that because they've practiced it so much. But what if they were to try something different? What if they were to practice that a little bit more often, right? I want to see, like, you know, you guys were talking about it. We want to see Gecko coming into Game Changers APAC. I want to see Yoru.
Yeah.
We've got a Masters Tokyo trophy in the shape of, like, the Yoru mask. Maybe we could have a little bit of that here. I don't know. But either way, we're going to go into the next round, and it's going to be GEX now buying back up. Again, if they are to win this, it starts here.
Yeah, and after this technical pause, perhaps this might be the mental reset that GEX needs. They are Quantum Prime, they have the utilities, they have the guns. This time around, it's going to be a quick run onto the B site for THK. Muffin Loop is displaced thanks to the Aftershock, and they are going to go for that plant. But the beauty about B site is that retakes are a little bit more easy.
On both sides, but if you hold from mid, that could be effective as well. Not to mention they're holding so close because they are using Spectres and other close range weapons. Bela has to be very careful with when she wants to take that.
Here it comes. Bela immediately. That's the beauty of holding with your turret like that. You can your turret and really goes for two. That is a very aggressive push out, and I love that. They weren't expecting it at all. To pop the nade just to buy some time right now with the recon, but swinging out will be now 16k. Clean round. Arcane cannot do more than that. All she got is a consolation prize in terms of a kill.
Still a good kill nonetheless. Now she's 2 points away from her ultimate. Does get to buy back up. Not the worst for Wear, but main thing is how GE actually retook that. Because, like you mentioned, yes, B site, you have those two entrances which are in completely opposite directions, and that's what makes it so easy for a pinch. But at the same time, I want to focus on Bela's hold up by Garage, something that THK did not expect. Maybe G expected them to come in through this one spot, and that's how Bela put a stop to that. Off to the next round, buys all across the board. We have Muffin Loop on her blades, and she's gonna have to kind of find angles for this. Maybe hold up by mid, but THK are going for a default slow push. Maybe a C-split.
That's really good. As you said that, 16k already, finding Olulu as Bela buys some time with her nades. I think they spot her out, so she is ready. The free fire comes through. She gets her out of the way. Arsenal picked out by the blades as Muffin Loop still holding on to B side, looking to see if anyone will be rotating through grass. I think she hears the footsteps. She spots her out. Unfortunately, whiffs.
Wow.
Nice headshot onto Snowkey. Beautifully done as Hannah. Her timing for the rotate a little bit too slow. Her teammates not very close to her at all.
I mean, that's that jet duel that we're looking for. Now she's setting up for the next one as THK tries to slip through. Hannah knows where she
One
is.
enemy remaining.
Can't quite get the spray though. God.
Yeah, she's been really sharp on these blades, and that's
30
the reason
seconds
why
left.
Muffin Loop is their designated jet. Still one more to worry about. Ashley all alone, she spots her out. Easily done. 4 in the bag. As GE bring it back, equalizing their score.
4 kills off a Blade Storm. And that's Jet right now. I mean, Snow is trying to do whatever she can, but unfortunately just caught out. You can see that she was facing towards the direction. She wanted that duel, but Muffin Loop got her with a single tap instead, and that's the strength of this duelist from GE Phoenix. The fact, again, that they're switching things up. Before was Meow 16K on the Raze. Now we're back to Muffin on the Jet.
Get out of
And
my
off of
way!
that round with THK having to half buy this time around.
It's Snowkey. This time around, it's her turn with the blades. Clears out the entire area, kind of moved into the site itself. And no one, A, could be 3 and all smoked out. She cleared us out everything despite the flash. Fury will clear out the area. At least try to deny the plan with the shock darts both used. Has to give out the space if she wants to play with the Owl Drone. Does spot out someone at Graffiti, and immediately Snowkey and her teammate will be holding cross together. It's a very aggressive angle Snowkey is playing at, as she doesn't move undeterred at all. Finally, will be moved away by that aftershock. She does spot out Kiri on the top side. And here's Kiri with the recon. Spots out one. Nice! Great from Kiri. Hannah is for one, but Muffin 16K and Rose. Beautifully done in terms of that retakes, because they weren't able to hold on to me.
Yeah, just everything completely falling apart. You know, you're talking about A-Link, you're talking about A-Heaven, and it's not like they lacked information. They knew where they were coming from. They didn't have the guns, sure, but we did have a Blade Storm, and just not quite having the right angle for it. GX, on the other hand, had everything lined up for them. I mean, it almost looked like Snow and another one of her teammates were stuck together, and there was the perfect spray down from GEX. So 3-2. They get to buy up an operator now. Muffin Loop's gonna be able to use this so well.
She's on that off as well. A nice shot onto mid displaces them, and just a spray to the door. Muffin 16, Meow 16K finds that. I think that was a recon that caught her. I'm not sure. Yes, it was Kiri's recon. Regardless, Snowkey this time had been making her way onto A main. Rolling Thunder just displaces her. Drops another cloud burst straight onto the site. Barely gets tagged one more time by the fault line. Out. They look one, not good for two. Meow 16K has been great with his trades. Fortunately, we have to respect the lockdown coming forward. GE, well, at least Kiri can play in this corner. That's one player inside of Hell. Using the Hunter's Fury, she drops down and finds a Lulu straight in Hell. The recon will find one. Crossing the divide will be helping them. And now it's safe. That's 2 tries to survive, but Meow 16K with 4 to bag at all. Look at these multi-frags coming in from both teams, but GE in particular.
In particular, with their utility usage, everything cracks from THK. I mean, like, let's break this down a little second. I feel so bad for Snow because she's really trying. She's trying to find ways to go in. She kind of gets knocked up by her teammates. Rolling Thunder, and then she dashes in, can't quite find the angles that she's looking for, maybe gets 1 or 2, but that's about it. Meanwhile, Hannah, such great movement in the way that she dodges back and forth between the boxes on the site itself, but then that nano storm for Bela and Meow 16K peeking out that way, it's 4 wins in a row for Global Esports Phoenix. A timeout has to be called for THK, but can they really come back into this? Their economy, it's not great, Tash. And the operator's still in the hands of Muffin Loop.
Yeah, and I think with that operator, it really discourages them from taking up space onto mid and link. So what they try to do here is say that, okay, there's an op at mid, shall we just rush into A? And just now, you know, it was so fast, but now that you pointed it out, Snowkey was displaced by a Lulu. If their timing was a little bit better in terms of trying to get onto the site, it might give Snowkey a little bit more wriggle room. And in fact, it felt like Snowkey was stuck all the way near Link just now. I felt like she didn't have to go that deep.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. I mean, you can see what she's trying to go for, and that's what I respect out of it, but it's just a little bit unfortunate. So instead, it's going to be the half buy. Snow does have a Phantom, a Hero Phantom, and she has enough to buy up in the next round, but whether or not she can make the most out of it is another thing. She has to play swift and precise with this.
Oh, she goes straight into Link, trying to catch someone just in the middle of the rotation. Muffin Loop goes forward. Unfortunately, does not even get a pick, but Snooki does.
Nice.
And this might be what she needed, the confidence boost coming forward. As she tries to go for another weapon, at least Hannah, Kiri finds her. And Muffin Loop still holding to see if anyone will just push up from main. They know that they're inside of the smokes. She's gonna switch out to the shorty, but Oluno playing a little bit more aggressive, pushing out to the side. Layla does trade out, but Snooki coming in from C. That is nasty. You can see how far they are out rotating each other. Ashling
One enemy remaining.
the mantle of the operator. Okay, now as Snooki gets a lot of value from that Phantom.
And it's a thrifty win for THK. What just happened, Tash? I mean, like you said, it was nasty. It's this play from THK that keeps on confusing, throwing GEX for a bit of a loop of their own. The way that you just rush straight into the B site and then have it completely engulfed by smoke. So you have players hiding inside of it, maybe with specters that they've picked up, or just sheriffs, and then at the same time the confidence for Snow to just go straight into A-Link. GX had no idea what hit them, and the operator just did not have the range to be effective. Now on to the next round. They have 3 ultimates on the side of GEX, and that's why they're playing so defensively.
They want to make sure they're able to execute with these ultimates, whether it be for denying or even for those retakes. A change of pace for GE this time, not GE, sorry, for THK. Just now it feels a little bit more, I would say, certain that they want to hit B. But I think this time around they're trying to go for information, and they can kind of decide what they want to do with it. Where will the Killjoy utilities be? How exactly should we execute on A? How many are on A? Because look at where Hannah is, all the way near A site. Not Hannah, sorry, that is Muffin Loop. Sorry, Kiri. She's trying to go aggressive.
Yeah, she's definitely blocking that off. And this might funnel THK in towards Kiri. She definitely can hear those footsteps, Tash. I'm worried.
Yep, and she's playing very close. She spots one out. She gets splashed. I think they know that she's there. Wow. Immediately rushing forward. And Snooki, when she is given the space, the flashes, she will just W key straight onto the site, which is honestly the best way to play a Jet. Unfortunately, you can see the Arcane Wise utility does get shot out. She's not able to hold as Hannah finds Bela in the middle of that hold. She read that like a book. And now pushing forward here is Muffin Loop. They know that Hannah is there. They want to stop her from rotating inside. She's still holding close, but look how low goes in, and she finally does go down. Beautiful done. And Muffin Loop all alone. She does get 3, and now it's a 1v1. She has more HP. The advantage is in her hands. She hears the footsteps, and she gets a 4K on top of that.
Clutch.
Muffin Loop, the hero of this round, the phoenix from the ashes. Somehow, the entire squad from THK couldn't take her down. Hannah was on a journey of her own. She was making a really effective lurk that she pulled some forces away. But Muffin Loop was able to dismantle the entire site's defenses on her own. And that was the factor into giving GEX that round win.
Because Muffin Loop was able to isolate these fights, I don't even think she isolated it. It's just more of Hero KDA not able to time their swings properly. If they were able to do that, they'll just get her down. A big mistake, but a costly one. The recon ball immediately just deleted by the team from Kiri.
No more Sova.
Oh god, another factor too. Now the Nebula comes up and you get a shot through the smoke. Muffin has like 12 kills on her KD. She's got the hero KDA, and she's got a Bladestorm available as well. Can Smoke actually explode onto the site?
Oh, yes she does. HP gets a pick on top of that. She does what she does. 2 HP left. She's so very low, but she's done her job. Muffin Loop looks to clear out Garage. She just reminds Spike planted in. Wall banging the boxes first, just clear out the area. They pop out the nades. Does buy some time for them to push out. As Snooki, despite only the 2 HP, she's very aggressively pushing out, trying to find anyone in the mid rotations. But Lulu, I think she hears the footsteps. Maybe holding it in close. I don't think they realize that she's there. Unfortunately, she whiffs. She's gonna just go for that flash. Unfortunately, flashing herself and her teammate not able to execute. And Kiri finds two. Snooki at least gonna find a redemption pick at least on Kiri. She can go for more. Aisling, 2 picks already. Another 1 versus 1. And she gets it in the bag. Aisling stepping up when it matters.
Definitely just finding those triple kills and saving the round for her team. I mean, a little bit unfortunate. It was a smart positional play coming in from THK as they swing outside the garage, but the flashes, the timing on the shots, it only made their presence known, allowing for GEX to come back in to collecting those frags. If not for Aisling, that round could have gone completely differently. So they win, they get to buy back up. It's broken economy for GEX. They have 4 ultimates though, and that's something that they have to play around. The judge inside of Garage too. Muffin, whoa, pushing out of mid.
Yeah, she's very aggressive. She wants to make use of these raids. Rushing forward here, her teammate is there at least, just to catch them off guard. Nice right click, a click for 1. Melee fence RKY, move away, unpunished. Snooki survives. Quite low though, as Kiri walking back onto A site. All she has in her hand is just that sheriff, but we have seen hero plays happen with that particular gun.
Oh no.
Snooki 40 HP left, and also slowed as well as vulnerable. Kiri takes her down with her shock dart. Rose, she wants to go for the headshot. Yes, she does. She's going to yes, beautifully done. Those taps, so very well done. Can't go for more. Hannah cannot take more than that. Now 16K was ready.
It just, oh god, it completely falls apart. They had the buy stash. Where did all those guns go? They dropped on the floor.
Yeah.
And it all happens because of this one push that funnels them into the A site, and then the perfect setup from GX. Look at these stars. One to suck and pull Snow down into the ground so that she's planted firmly. The shock dart to come in after that. And then those shots with the sheriff.
Oh, that was
it was insane.
Yeah. It was just so good. I just was able to line the heads up with her crosshair. Immediately this raised up, busting punishes Loki for getting on the site, but thankfully Hannah and Olulu get 1 each. It's actually crazy how both these teams thrive on these Hunter's Furies. Now Kiri finds Olulu, disgraces her. Kiri managing to buy some time before the plant. Bela holding up, trying to see if they're actually going to commit to that plant. Not going to happen. Hannah is so low, but she does have her own Hunter's Fury to use.
It would appear to me that GX sometimes aren't prepared for this B site rush, but this time around, because of that Hunter's Fury, they were able to recover. Meanwhile, for THK, sometimes they're not expecting some of these defensive setups that GX has, but they still manage to adapt and turn things around by finding the open sites. Now, RKNY on a big lurk. She can be the one to be thorn in their sides, but Baylor turns around in the right time.
Because of that, RKNY wasn't able to stop that from happening. She had the right read.
Hannah?
Hannah, 20.
She's got her Hunter's Fury.
Yeah, she does. I think she's gonna find a way into the area. Here comes Hunter's Fury. She gets 1 tag, takes 1 pick onto Kiri, but the round win will still go to GE.
Last round in the
I'm just
half.
curious as to why Hannah was rotating there.
She wanted a better angle, and, you know, at the same time you can maybe find a sort of a flank from A link, but just taking a little bit too much time, maybe a little bit paranoid that someone could have been lurking somewhere towards the B site. It's unfortunate. It really just is unfortunate. THK had so many good ideas. The positioning from them is smart. That lurk from RKNY, but GEX were just in a good enough spot for Bela to put that lockdown in and to turn around and to dismiss that flank. That said, though, you still have to keep in mind that was a bit of a save round from THK, so it's not the worst for wear. They get to buy back up in this round. You've got Olulu on another Rolling Thunder. Let's see if she can make that effective. Let's see if they can find an effective way to hit the sights. Meanwhile, Meow16K, you've got a bit of that cosmic divide, maybe useful for a retake as well. So it's a lot of back and forth, and THK needs to be the one to find that one extra step forward.
Yeah, and Rose is only one off her ultimate as well. So, wondering.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's really scary for them because not only do you have the Cosmic Divide, you also have a displacement with the Rolling Thunder, and Kiri again aggressively putting up that recon. It does get destroyed. It already gives them enough information as Bela holding in this micro angle. I know with the cross it will displace her, but thankfully it will be the owl drone for the scout. Gives THK enough information to possibly not fight for the area in front of Garage.
And that's why they're just holding for now. Kiri pushing up.
Wow, immediately she gets one. But thankfully not more than that, Snooki. Can see that they actually got displaced or concussed. Has to back away. They don't want to challenge. They want to take at least one more round away from GE before they go to the second half.
Because 7-5 would be much better, but an 8-4 would be huge for GEX's momentum. And keep in mind the ultimates as well. Rose now has her Rolling Thunder. Meow16K just jump peeking for info. She sees all of them, does get concussed.
There they are. 30
THK
seconds
can
left.
collapse onto her.
Yeah,
No, she makes it out in time.
Yeah, she moves out of the way. She respects that, and she will rather be playing with her teammates. As Bela still holding out Garage, here comes the Rolling Thunder, displaces her and gives her straight to RKNY. As Muffin holding up a little bit more long, hoping to see if Hannah will pick through. She does, but it's Hannah with the first contact. Switches out her guns, but it's gonna be a nice trade from Snooki. A nice move towards the site as Meow16K eats a little bit more damage from that Nano Swarm. Pushes out. Final person left alive. It's still 1-on-3 as Snooki seals it off, bringing them to a 7-5 half.
Nice dash. That's a lot of damage.
Let's get these idiots.
And we're just seeing how THK comes in around the sites, holding Garage, Hannah pushing deeper in towards C-Link. It's smart and it's great. And I mean, what more can we say? 7-5 is great for THK.
It really is. Honestly, I think that THK has, I mean, as you said before, they have a lot of good ideas coming forward. They have got a lot of good plays, but GE is just so good at displacing them. It feels like whatever they have in mind in terms of execution has just been stopped over and over again. Regardless, we're gonna pass it over to our two panelists. Take it away, Mika, as well as Zach.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah, I got the pass. All good. Thank you so much, Tash and Quack. That was a very, very explosive back and forth half that we had. I think that towards the end, we definitely did see kind of, the team of Hero KDA building up that momentum, showing a couple of really pivotal rounds, and of course, Snow activating. But for GE, I think compared to map number 1, they look much more comfortable on this defensive side. They do have the lead in this particular half, but Mika, I believe we have a special guest joining us on the desk for a few seconds.
That's absolutely right. I mean, like, I'm not the only one with an opinion here. I have a little friend over here. This little guy has an opinion, and he was gonna say, where are you gonna say? Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, he says that Muffin has been amazing on the Jet, and I actually love. You made a really good point. Yeah, he says that like the setup for Muffin has been amazing, and Rose is just playing out of her mind right now. I mean, you can see that in the assists that come in. So for GE, they're looking really good. For THK, wondering how they're going to bring it back.
Yeah, it's been a very rough half for them, but again, they have a lot of stalling utility in their pocket. If they can really be able to set up and get a little bit aggressive, find those early picks, it might be what they need to kind of draw it back here. They've also proven to be very successful over these pistol rounds. So if they can get another pistol in their pocket, it could easily equalize the score. But that's gonna be it from the panel for now. Thank you very much, Little Bro, for your very insightful analysis. And back to you, Quack and Tash.
I really hope that we get to see Lil Bro more on the panel. He was very insightful, and I would really love to know what he thinks about Quack's new haircut.
New hair. What?
Yeah, the one you had at Pacific.
Is it new? I don't know. It's Korean hair and makeup. I'll just let them do whatever. I'll just let them throw a wingman at me, and then he'll come in with his arms and just kind of, you know, toss my hair all around, and that's great. I like wingman. He's awesome. Little bro's great. But you know, back in the game, and it's gonna be THK on the defense. We have Hannah, just great timing on the recon bolt. She gets enough information that we have 2 players now on the A site, and they're holding the crossfire angle.
Nice crossfire. I like that THK this time around is playing a little bit more safe. They're taking a little bit more of a back. I would say they're not playing or trying to go for that fight onto the side itself. They do get flashed out. Muffin Loop already inside, and the swing by. Rose finds Hannah, and Muffin Loop finds Olulu. I don't think she was expecting the push to be that explosive. For Muffin Loop, they see that the Nebula is not going to be allowing anyone to get onto the site, but it does go down. Snooki with the dash activated and will be displaced by that aftershock. Kiri uses that shock dart to buy more time. Snooki once again tries her luck to get the site, but crossfire is just a little bit too much. Muffin Loop by Snooki. Arca and White going for the trade at the very least. Another right player, not going to take one down. Arca can wait for 2, but it's a 1 versus 3. It's so difficult to have 3 people looking at you, as well as a frenzy.
And a turret too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
like,
teaming the turret.
Sitting over there like, hi, okay, bye. As Arcane Mike continues to swing. Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but this is such a great play from GX because it's simple but effective, and this is what makes Valorant fun. Like, you have on paper a good crossfire setup, and Hannah just trying to make use of whatever she's got with the frenzy to continue pushing in. But then all of that is displaced because of Muffin Loop's tailwind. She goes so far deep into the site that Olulu couldn't even react in time. Now they're buying up with all the guns, and Muffin on the Vandal, round 2, she's just getting all the damage.
Look at Iving putting in the damage. Does get a dink onto Kiri. No more shields. Her high life has gone down to 72 HP. But they clear out the entirety of the backside. As Bela's timing a little bit better, she knows there's going to be one for the lurk. Destroys that. Now it's just Hannah to worry about. They know exactly where she is. It's going to be Garage. Through that cloud burst. Easily done. Round number 2. And we go to the next round. At least, maybe this might be the round that THK might be able to snowball forward.
It's such a strong play from GEX. And you're now looking at a 9-5 scoreline. Yes, they, made a slight error in not checking this one little cubby, but they managed to recover. They managed to still stomp forward. And it's so strong, so effective that I'm a little bit worried for THK now. If they can't stop them in this round, which they should be, given all the buys that they have, it's going to be tough for THK to recover from this.
Muffin Loop pushes out. It's going to be a B side area that she's going to try pushing through. If you remember, THK has had some successful pushes through a B, but Snooki is very aggressively timing not her side. They pushed out 2 people through the smoke, immediately taking her out. It's still very winnable. Is Muffin Loop still holding down Bobby? Or can Y to find a way to push through B? The shots come through. Here's Hannah playing for the Stewards. That's fine Bela. But Muffin Loop finds Ailing as Rose finds an aftershock pick onto Olulu. Arcane Y as well. Gonna find Meow 16k onto Link. They know where Hannah is. They did find her, or see her at least, with the recon. As Hannah finds one enemy remaining. Go for 2. Yes, she does. Only 3 in the bag. Swoops her gun out. With the recon, she can make something happen. It's only Kiri they have to worry about. She's all alone on main. Here's the footsteps. Hannah was low anyway. But now down to a 1v1. You want her to win. Timing! And Arcane Y looked back to left at the very right time. Woo! I'm nervous.
Calling my bot. Recalling my bot.
So am I, Tash. I can feel my palms getting a little bit clammy. But thankfully, Arcane Y turns back around in the last second. I mean, it's not a huge...
One enemy remaining.
It's just like a 45-degree turn. It's not so bad. It's still good. And at the same time, what a way for Hannah to collect on all those frags as they try to take her down. This is what we need from THK. A little bit more control, a little bit more frags coming their way. Meanwhile, for GEX on the attacking side, we've seen the aggressive play happen before. It feels like they're trying to do the same thing again, and Hannah's the only one here who could stop them.
So Hannah, instead of from main and immediately gets punished by Muffin Loop. Because of the timing, she probably thought it was clear. Just go out to peek. Snowkey, ooh, if her timing permits her, she might be able to go for it, but the turret will be the obstacle she has to face off first. She does give her out. Turret goes down, does not realize that Bela was playing very, very close. They already have full control toward Link as well.
One enemy remaining.
Gets one, but it's not before Muffin. Sorry, Meow16k takes out 2 in return. Ashley wants to make something happen. We find her in the recon, and all you have to do is just spray her out. She goes down. A very, very clean round by GE, only losing 1.
Need a drop.
And that's why they get to, you know, have a teammate buy back up for Muffin Loop. Meanwhile, for THK, not good economy, Tash. It's 10-6 now, and with losses like these, GEX now reaching double digits first. It's an uphill battle, and THK needs to fight. They need to do it now. It's so difficult. These girls, you know, you can see that they're trying so much. They're pretty darn eager as well. The timing on that peak from Hannah, unfortunately, just did not go her way. And that's kind of what GE Phoenix's game plan is. They get these microaggressions, they get a bit of space, a bit of control towards A-Long. But they don't commit to the site just yet, Tash. They just hold for an extra second or two, expecting the peak out of THK. And after that peak, they punish them, they go straight into the site. THK can't really retake from that point forward. It's not great, but that's what's going well for Global Esports Phoenix. These girls are finding that wind. They are coming in with these wins now, and they can keep this up for 3 more rounds. That's it for this series.
So unfortunate, but if you remember in the previous half, the hero KDA was able to get some pretty insane thrifties. Kind of hoping that they're able to do it again. But in this situation, you're right. I mean, with 10-6, I mean, it's only a 4-round deficit, but how many rounds in a row? I mean, the amount of wriggle room you have is not a lot now. I think the best they can do here is maybe take away some guns, either surviving and try to survive and bring them to the next round, or they're just saving this round and then finally try to chain as many rounds in a row moving forward. But GE is just really understanding how exactly the hero KDA has been thinking. They know where RKNY was going to be. They know where Snowkey likes to push. They know where Hannah was last. She likes to play close. And I don't know if you've noticed as well, but GE Phoenix has also been sort of marking where the players are. And then they say, okay, last time she was spotted here, it's most likely she might be here or just change a little bit. And they've been really adjusting to the hero KDA based on their reads.
Precisely. And that's kind of how you have that game sense up and running, and then how you find ways to counter the setup from THK. It's worrisome, and it's a problem because now THK, they need to find ways to adapt to this. We've seen, you know, maybe 1 or 2 rounds where Snow tries to aggress outside of B, maybe Garage, and it doesn't really succeed that much. You know, maybe she finds 1 or 2, but GE always turns back around, and because they're sticking so closely together, they're able to fire back straight whatever THK throws at them. Hannah is always the only one in the A site, and now she has no choice but to turn tail and fall all the way back up towards Heaven, which is gonna get smoked off. They don't have the guns, and Global Esports Phoenix has everything.
Yeah, Muffin Loop already straight toward Haven. The usual standard thing that she does is she's going to go a little bit more aggressive. She is displaced, and she immediately sees what comes inside. She gets away with it! But look at this! How the engage was by THK. They're playing a little bit too aggressive, and it catches GX off guard. Lala's trying to make something happen. She does get one, the Olulu.
One enemy remaining.
Can she go for 3 is the question. Yes, she does. Bela with the Band-Aid cleanup, while her teammates wasn't able to hold in the first place. Whew.
Completely stops the bleeding, Tash. You talk about band-aids, and she just places that right on the booty. Oh my god, Bela. I mean, For a second,
One
like,
enemy remaining.
I was unsure as to what happened. We saw the pistol kills. GE went straight into the site.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a fault line from Olulu, and I believe that's what gave THK all those frags. But in one instance, it all turned around again because Bela just peeks out at the right time, the right way. 11-6, and we are 1 round away from match point.
It's a good round by THK, catching them off guard. If you saw earlier, it felt like THK took a little too long to push onto site. Now understanding they don't have anything to lose, they tried to take as many guns as they can. This might be the round that they'll be able to come back. Nothing good going for that. Nope. This place, have to do it again. She tanks this, going forward, playing inside of smoke, going very, very... getting out of the way, rather.
Standing ahead.
Out of dodge. Lockdown coming in. Hannah trying to find them wherever she can. Doesn't get the first one, but at the same time, now it's just the team trying to go in to defuse the spike. Kiri answers back. Ashlyn peeking all the way out of garage. Meow is the only one left, and she can't really do all that much.
Yeah, I think she'd rather just go for the save this time around. But I really liked how they played that. Because of the recon that was just so well placed by Hannah, she was able to get a few picks with the Hunter's Fury. Kiri wasn't able to do much, and you saw how immediately the hero KDA said, oh, she's ulting, push out right now. And they pushed out not only from main, but also garage. You can see the kill feed just going crazy as they push into the site.
And it's just all those frags that they collect upon. I mean, getting the timing on those ultimates, just playing off of them, that's one way to turn things around against GEX. But at the same time, 11-7, Tash, we need just 4 more rounds. I don't know if it's going to be possible because GEX are pushing the pressure forward. And they're not committing just yet. Again, okay, well, Muffin goes in.
Yeah, they're already on the site itself, and this time around, listen, I think for A site, we've noticed that THK hasn't really been putting like a really hard hold on it. It's just always one person on the site. Cosmic Divide has been expanded. RK and Y and her team drop down together, but Muffin Lu finds Hannah as she drops down. Rolling Thunder uses Kiri does find RK and Y. A pull out by Ashley, and she spots one out. But look at how aggressive they are. It's so hard for THK to do anything. And just like that, THK gets deleted as we move on to match point.
That is just one heck of a poopy duper round. It's GEX and the way that they completely dumped on this site. They went straight in, all of the utilities going their way, and THK not quite able to retake Dash. It's so unfortunate. They tried to go in with it, but with all the positions that G held, you know, up from Hell and just around A short itself, they couldn't really find answers to this. Hence the timeout being called now. You need 5 more rounds to turn things around, and it's really difficult. Every buy counts from this point forward, and you might have Olulu and Snow with her blades and the Rolling Thunder, but I'm not sure how much more they can hang on to this for. That said, even if they lose this, it's not all over, but you want that win. You want to go forward in the upper brackets.
An upper bracket journey is definitely a lot easier compared to a lower bracket one. I mean, coming back to abilities, look at Meow16k. I don't know how fast she's been farming these orbs, but she's one off the Cosmic Divide. And if used right, it may just be what they need to seal the deal and bring their team forward. You don't want to give too many rounds to THK. You want to prevent that overtime is 1. And number 2, you want to prevent that momentum coming forward. But again, the hero KDA needs to figure out how to use those utilities properly and time it right.
It's gonna be tricky with that timing. THK now switching up their setup. We have 3 players, and not Hannah on the A site, but look at how disciplined and how slow GX are taking this. Expecting pushes, just playing that default, letting the timer burn a little bit. It's a lot of question marks for THK, and at the same time, they're anxious because it's match point, that the pressure is on them. GE now makes a move towards mid.
Pop the Nano Swarm, just clear out those corners. Snowkey, she's not playing aggressive this time around, she's going in for those holds. And look how deep the utilities are has been put by RKNY. A main sewers on the site itself. Smoking off sewers means that they have a little bit more wiggle room. No one's going to be peeking out from sewers. The bot does spot him out, and immediately you can see the rotations come through. Slow
30 seconds
rotations. Almost gets displaced here, but Muffin Loop playing those nasty corners.
Spike
Nice
down
trade at the
A.
very least finds Muffin Loop. And the Rolling Thunder come through to displace them. Buys a lot of time, including Timmy. You're in trouble, but they can't play in this little corner. Meow 16K can't play there because of the aftershock. Look at this corner come
10
through as
seconds
Meow
left.
16K and the
Player standing.
out everything.
Team
But the
ace.
crossfires from GE are just a little
Attackers
bit too
win.
much to handle as GE wins this 2-1.
I thought that THK would have gotten that round. You saw the timer. It was down to like 10 seconds. And at that point, there was only one way forward. And that's to, go forward. And GE Phoenix really does. They went all the way in and they took down every player from THK. What a way to close out this map.
I'm just really a big fan of how they push onto the side, one looking to the right, one looking to the left, and because they moved in together and cleared out hell as well as heaven, which means a very flawless movement into the side itself. And I think in terms of Angels as well, you really got to give it to them. They've been winning a lot of this on the second half. Yes, we saw that Hannah has been a good shot, but compared to the rest, especially after Kiri's 2 picks with the Sheriffs, I'm still mind blown by that. But I'm pretty sure that Zach and Mika have a lot more to say. So ladies, please break it down for us. Gonna send you guys back to the panel.
Thank you very much to our casters. Congratulations, by the way. That is a 3 out of 3 for technical pauses for Tash and Quack at the top of the round. Job well done. Job well done. Good job. But even better job, of course, for Global Esports Phoenix closing it out right now. And Zach, I am really impressed by how the switch on to Muffin just entirely changed up the pace for Global Esports Phoenix, especially since I kind of felt like on the side of THK that they were losing steam a little bit. And just like you could see the renewed energy coming in from Global Esports Phoenix, especially since Muffin's performance rate, she was popping off.
Yeah, some really, really crispy shots. You gotta hand it to Muffin, whatever gun she has, whether it's a ghost or a vandal or an operator, she just seems to connect every single one. But I think that on Haven in particular, it was an extremely team work focused map that we saw coming out of Global Esports. Like, for example, that last round that we saw, even though there were only 10 seconds left on the clock, they were so methodical and precise with how they were heading into the site, being able to find those trades, and just they didn't even need to get the spike down. It was just off of raw frags. In fact, I think that once GE switched over to attack, we saw 2 rounds coming in for the side of THK, one of which was GE's bonus round. So really, really good performance. And of course, if you look at the scoreboard, it tells kind of the entire story. Just a Muffin Loop diff coming in. 7 first kills. I think that's more than probably the entire enemy team has put together at this rate. And overall, I think the entire team stepped up when it was needed the most. You saw some phenomenal utility coming in out of Meow 16K on that Astra, also being able to just go in as that second entry and refrag every single time, whoever goes down. Just good work coming out of GE.
Exactly, right? You had Muffin Loop already, and then you had the backup, which was Meow, who was still performing out of her mind, even though, she could tone it down because she was not a duelist role. It still felt like it, right? And then you had the support from the rest of the team, right? We did have, she's kind of a little bit quieter, of course, than these two, but Rose actually had amazing setups for these two. And I think that's part of why Muffin probably felt so fearless, because she had that backup from everybody. And, I also do have to praise, as we see in here, of course, our MVP Muffin will be Muffin, but I do have to praise, for example, Bela. My gosh, I mean, we were saying behind the scenes, that 3v1 clutch was amazing, just how she was able to isolate those individual fights.
Yeah, just 1v3, very, very methodical, knows that a player is low, gets that spray through the smoke, prevents the diffuse, and after that is able to just play for time and isolate those 1v1s. A phenomenal debut coming in for Bela. That's got to be a really good feeling. You step in with your team and you come into the playoffs, you win your first series, move on, really, really good job coming out of her. But I think that in particular, Rose deserves a lot of credit here. She might not always be up there on that on that leaderboard when it comes to frags, but I think especially on these last two maps, you could really see G's strategical side kicking in. They looked much, much more composed. A lot of the time, you saw them go in for taking space, finding these entry kills, for example. You could see the setups coming out. So it was just really, really good work coming in from her to be able to find those timings, call things out. And I think that last half on Haven, right, it was almost a flawless attack coming out of GE. And in that first half, it was a little bit scrappy between both of these teams. You saw like a lot of thrifties coming in, things coming down to just 1v1s. But that second half from GE, it was pristine work. Even the rounds they lost, it came down to the wire. The rounds they won, it was pretty dominating.
Especially since you had this feeling from Global Esports that, they knew when they could actually take the fight, like really, really close. They knew when they were in the win, even if, like, for example, I go back to that last round wherein they actually had, they were pushed back. They already, all their info was given to the opposing team, and they even had Rolling Thunder pushing them out, but they were like, no, we can still take this fight. And when they dove in all together, it was just beautiful teamwork. And I'm so excited to see Global Esports Phoenix just really improve throughout the rest of our open right here. And on the side of Global Esports, I believe we do have somebody from Global Esports here for a quick interview. So let's bring her up onto your screens. I believe we have Meow representing the team. So let's jump into this quick interview. Hi, Meow. Hello. Hi, can you hear us?
I think you're muted, Meow.
Hi, Meow. Job well done. Congratulations to the team for the first win here in Open 2. So just some really quick questions for you. I have a couple. So what do you think was the most difficult thing about that series?
I think on the first map, we all were super,
30 seconds left.
it took us time to realize that we are playing a tournament game. We are playing playoffs. We were quite like, our energy level were just resetting. It was the first map of the day. We usually scrim and then we come up and play the tournament games. But today we did not do our initial scrims. So the first map went like, hello, good morning, guys. So yeah, but then we started playing it as if it was a BO1. Fracture and Haven, both of them we played it like it was a BO1, and that's how we reverse sweep.
I love it. It's gathering steam. It's that warm up, right? It's that warm up and just making sure the fire is stoked. So, second question for you before I hand it over to Zach. Can you tell us about the rotating duelist role between you and Muffin? Like, I was wondering if there's a difference in the team dynamic when you switch, because when you guys did switch, it seemed like the team was refreshed.
I think all of us individually, we are trying to not become a one-trick agent-wise. We want to be as comfortable as we can be in terms of agents. So even if like someday if I happen to play any other role, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, I don't know how to play this game. Even in case of emergencies, we don't know what can happen. So we are flexible enough in terms of our roles, and it's now I'm very used to playing. I think except for Sentinel, I'm playing all the other roles: initiator, duelist, and controller. Yeah. So I think it's like pretty cool to play all these roles, and considering the fact that you understand most of the game.
Thank you for that insight. Zach, do you have some questions for Meow?
Of course, Meow, I think I met you last year, and we had a little nice conversation at that Harvard event, and it's super nice to see you again. Congratulations on your win today. You guys were fantastic. So my first question, it has to do with that kind of like that roster change. Well, how has Bela been fitting in? She was great throughout the series, but as a team, how do you think it's going so far?
It was pretty unfortunate because due to some personal reasons, Hyphy couldn't step in main 5, and we had to do these changes pretty much like within 15 days of Open 2. Bella is trying her level best fitting in the in playing 5, and she's been doing really well. It's she's like it was her first tournament game, to be very honest. She was very nervous in first map and throughout the series, but with time, with maps, she's been performing amazing, and we really believe that in coming games she will be the one carrying all of us out. I mean, you saw the clutches that she has done today. she has great potential and experience that is coming in her way. I think it's going to be really great for our team as well.
Yeah, I mean, today she was absolutely phenomenal. Really, really great debut coming out of her. And before we wrap this interview up, one last question. Your next matchup, it's going to be against SMG. So far, I think this year they haven't dropped a single map yet. Well, what do you think about your next matchup?
It's going to be a very hard time for any team at this point to beat SMG. I mean, you have to do like a pretty good homework in terms of strategies as well as individual games as well. You have to step in incredibly well. Um, I think we are just going to try our level best to, play a good Valorant. Maybe we might even try to learn and adapt according to them. I will not promise that we will win or even take one map because they are on a super high level right now. But I can only promise one thing, that in coming times we are definitely going to be the one team that will give a tough competition to SMG.
GE fighting. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Neil.
Thank
And
you.
good luck for the rest of your tournament run. You guys were amazing today. Take that well-deserved rest. We'll see you again tomorrow.
That's
And
right.
Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
It's not
you.
impossible.
Yeah. Keep fighting. Bye bye.
Oh wow.
I love her.
Such an insightful interview. I just love how she was like able to give so much background into like how the team works and everything. It's amazing to think that they only had 15 days to prepare for this tournament. That this is Bela's first, like this is her debut, and she did wonderful.
It was absolutely cracked coming out of her, and honestly, I have so much respect for Meow. She's been grinding the game since like it came out. She spearheaded that Asteria roster, and now she's here. She's still like putting in so much work, and I have so much respect for her as not just a player but also as a person. So it was like kind of like a fangirl moment for me to be able to like kind of interview her here. But you know, we're not done for the day. We do have one more banger series coming up, but I think before that, I think all of us need a very well-deserved break. So we'll be right back.